Okay, we're doing it. It's the sleepy time episode. The
I'm
late
so sleepy,
recording.
Jesus.
Well, you were literally asleep.
Yeah, no, I partly passed out.
This one's probably going to be kind of, maybe a little short, a little low energy, because while I'm sure Lucky will goad me into talking about something, I don't actually have a lot to talk about.
Well, Lucky can start things off. So, as I said, Lucky is a sleepy boy today, mostly because I didn't sleep that well last night. It was actually kind of great. I went to bed at 11 p.m. being like, yeah, I'm gonna get my full 8 hours, and then I'm gonna go to a gun show, and then I'm probably not gonna buy a gun, but I'll think of all the bang bang and that stuff. So Lucky lays down, wakes up at 4 a.m. and he's just like, fuck.
Rip.
Well, this is my life now, so I'm gonna get up and play fucking Arknights and RimWorld. One of our lovely Discord users, one of the Studio Mega players, Lothram, who just loves giving people things, and it makes me super sus sometimes.
He's very generous.
Very generous.
Well, he likes people.
Got me and Omega both RimWorld, and RimWorld I've been super excited about because I love these types of games. It's just big old colony management mood. And he was of course telling me all the mods I can get into it. I was like, one of the first ones he mentioned was Monster Girl mod. I'm all like, fucking there. So
that's all Lucky needed. Omega was fine with just the space colony stuff.
Oh no, I was on the space colony stuff too.
Not that I've actually had time to crack open RimWorld yet.
Lucky was fine with just the space colony stuff too. This thing's been on my wish list for like years. It's just never gone on sale ever, and I was like, oh.
Rip.
But so I did that. Lucky headed out to the gun show at 8 a.m. There's got about 9. It wasn't super huge. It was just like one long hall, few tables. It wasn't like some of the ones that you see in like fucking stadiums where it's just guns for days and you have guys with literally tables on tables of Mosin the guns. I'm just like, where did you get those?
Rusher.
So
Soviet Union.
I didn't buy anything. I did buy ammo. I bought like 4 boxes of 9mm because I'm gonna go target shooting.
Well, I mean, it's apparently because of the thing, people got crazy. I've heard recently not that he necessarily needs it, but my own father, who owns a firearm, has been lamenting that there's no ammo anywhere because people are still weird. It was like, you didn't actually need ammo so far. All you've done is you just block up the market.
Yeah, let's see here. How much did I buy? Let me grab it here. It's a standard 9mm rounds. Let's see here. Yeah, about 200 rounds. It's not bad. It would take up 2 slots in fucking Leon's and attaché case.
Nice.
But like while I was there, Lucky knew he was gonna buy a gun. He was tempted by a gun, but he knew he was gonna buy a gun. So what I would do is I would look at guns, and then I'd look on the girls' frontline wiki and see if I could find the matching gun.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. They did have an MP40 though, and I was all like, I'm pretty sure this wasn't actually from like what was it? What was the MP40 debut? Was it World War I or World War II?
That would be 2.
2, yeah. I knew it was
classic German submachine gun, as all Call of Duty fans will recognize.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, they had it for like $600, and I was all like, no, don't do it. Yep, like don't do it. Think of how many gacha pools you can make with that, and I'm just like, why am I trying to use gacha to get me out of buying a gun? And Lucky had a very, very come back to earth moment right then.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see why though, because that is a big thing we do. We manage spending in terms of gacha and like units and stuff. It's part of our business model, and just just realizing it's like, I heard on another podcast somebody has like a sandwich system. When they go to a foreign place with like different money, they always look up how much it is to like buy a sandwich, and then they translate everything in the local currency into sandwiches to try and get a scale.
That makes sense.
Like that's a good general rule for everything. Like think how much it costs you to buy like a meal, a gallon of gas. Actually, honestly, right now gas is probably still super cheap. But stuff like that. Something I frequently used to do in the past and still do occasionally, though I very rarely play full market launch day price for video games because, well, don't be a scrub. You can buy that shit on sale. But something when I was younger was definitely how many full price AAA video games is that?
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
So thinking about it because you do buy a decent amount of 80 packs of gacha, thinking about how many Saint Quartzes or whatever that would get you is a good way to be like, no, that's probably not a good expense right now.
Yeah, I still want it. I actually took pictures of the gun I wanted. I found, like, as I said, MP40. That was cool. It was just like, I was like, I don't know what I do with this. Like, this is not like Lucky owns a gun. This is one of the main reasons. Like, I really don't care about buying another gun because I have a full size pistol that is going to be great for all my home defense needs. Lucky plans on buying like other guns, like a shotgun, maybe a long barrel rifle, and after that, it's just like, what guns do I just want because I just want a guns. Like that I'd say there's a lot of stigma against gun owners who have a lot of guns, like for as collectors things, because people get concerned. It's all like, oh my god, they're building an armory.
Yeah, that's not really the intent though, because honestly, firing a gun depreciates its value. You have to clean and maintain a weapon after you fire it. It's just like, collecting stamps or whatever. You want to put them in your collection.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking at that MP40. They had a FN Scar over there too. So like, I want this.
This is pretty cool.
I was like, I don't want to shoot this. Like, I would never see myself needing to shoot it, but I just want to be the guy who's like, yeah, I got an MP40 and a Scar, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know a guy actually who's got a collection. Some of them are practical. Like, he owns a couple of. He has a fireproof safe room in his house for like documents and stuff, but also it has spare ammo and just other random crap. But he's got a couple of basic AR-15s for shooting practice and stuff, or sportsman rifles and stuff. But he has a couple of actual like historical firearms and stuff just for purposes of like collecting. And it can be interesting. Yeah. The question is just how you store, display, and utilize things. And honestly, I mean, some people get a little reckless, and there are a lot of gun-related accidents. But it's the same with cars. Those people are not following the rules you should be if you have an accident. Because I don't know about you, Lucky, but I was let's see, not a super young age, but I was handling firearms in my early teens. We would shoot cans with my dad's old .22 out the back of the house. We had a backstop.
It's always a 22.
Well, they're pretty small.
Yeah.
Minimal risk and good for killing cans.
Cans.
But, we covered, and I went clay pigeon shooting around that age too, which is also, you just gotta obey all the stuff, don't cross, don't point at the thing, got anything you don't want to destroy, mind your backstop and all that, and, finger off the trigger always, trigger safety and all that. And yeah, it's just, if you, honestly, I think we could almost do with more firearm education, just because people get paranoid and freaky about guns because they're loud and scary. But much like talking about people buying up all the ammo or whatever, all the other ludicrous things like not wearing masks or whatever, people get, the unknown makes people paranoid. It makes them freak out. It makes them overreact and overcorrect.
Yeah, that's, like, Lucky will definitely say, I'm not necessarily for more stringent gun control, but he is definitely for more, definitely more gun education in a young person's life.
Yeah, like, we don't need to go so far as, like, yes, you are the militia of the state, we must teach you how to disassemble AR-15s so you can defend the glorious fatherland. We don't need to go that far, but just like...
No.
Much like we should be teaching people practical finance skills, just be like, hey, don't be afraid of the gun, respect the gun, don't mishandle a gun. You'll be a lot safer in your life and understand what's going on. Though, do always wear ear protection. Guns are fucking loud.
Yeah. They're very fucking loud, especially indoors. Jesus.
Have I told that I think I've told the story. It was just a casual thing, but, I've been target shooting with my dad and stuff and, family friends before, like I said, gun skeet shooting. And there was one time when I had I had my earplug out slightly and, did a round of shooting and just, that ear rung for quite a while. Plugs in tight, eye protection, all the works. Also, bullet casings are hot when they come out the gun, so try not to fold your arms or anything, or you can create a little catchment zone. I was standing in the back and caught a little spare and burned my arm a little bit. Oof. Just be careful. It's just like with archery, mind the drawstring and stuff.
By the way, while we have a moment, why don't you do the Patron intro?
Yes, I was waiting for a gap. And now that we've scared everybody away because they're paranoid about guns, let's shout out to our patrons.
They want to keep their guns. I'm sorry.
Let's shout out to our patrons like Comics, Black G, Carlos, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Rogue Robin, Shawnee P, some guy named Bob, Soda-san, 0424, Cider23, and Video Gamer 75. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it really helps us out. and lets us do fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, again, Lucky's pretty moderate on things, and guns is one of them. He's not gonna say like I need. When I hear someone that's like I need what the fuck?
What's going on, buddy?
Someone in Patron chat says a crystal that looks like a chicken tender alert. I'm just like, oh no, now I'm hungry. That's deception.
I'm not okay with this. But also check out our store, 30 Days of Chicken Fingers. But I don't think we've sold a single one of those, but someday we will. Oh, Loth, why are you trying to stir up shit immediately? Don't do that.
Lucky we'll remember this.
Well, yeah, so I can, since we kind of petered into that, I'll make it give his thoughts. I think I've said this before, but I'm a pretty heavy constitutionalist. I did a lot of my American history and took constitutional law and stuff. In case you guys forgot or didn't know, you might be new, Omega does have a degree, and Omega's me, by the way, does have a Bachelor of the Sciences, a BS, yeah, I know, somebody wasn't thinking about that one, in criminal justice, so I'm not a lawyer or anything, didn't go to law school, but I'm pretty well versed in the high levels of this stuff, and, well, this cuts both ways, right? Talking about paranoia makes people afraid.
Mm-hmm.
People use the whole, they're gonna take your guns to, like, get the base riled up. That's not likely either, just because the Constitution is astonishingly difficult to amend and would require a shitload of unity that will never appear in that regard. I highly doubt we will be so unanimously on the subject of owning the right to bear arms that we will repeal the Second Amendment, right?
No.
Like, that it's a big deal.
That's the pro and the con of the bipartisanship, really.
Yeah. So that cuts both ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even though I also personally have a philosophy of agency and that you should be allowed to defend yourself, because we don't live in some kind of magic fairy world where if you're in trouble, authority figures will teleport out of nowhere to save you. Especially in our currently rapidly evolving social climate. So I believe that self-defense is a right that you should have respected.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same time, as I get older, the more I'm like, okay, machine guns are fun, but you don't really need to own one. Mm-hmm. That's not a common thing. And just
you don't need to own one to defend your land.
Yes,
I just say
like for collecting or for sporting, sure, and like you probably shouldn't like. Yeah, sure, it's super cool if you own an M2 Mod Deuce machine gun. You probably shouldn't be able to, like, strap it to your trailer hitch and, like, drive it through town, just because that's just asking for trouble. Also because 50 BMG is a hell of a drug. It's we use it for anti-material rounds, so that's not that goes beyond the hurting people thing to the, like, you could cause significant incidental property damage on accident with that. Let's not. But yeah, so there's that thought of just like, you don't really, it's not something you need to like own in your home, but also a strict interpretation is that we do have the right to keep and bear arms. Anyway, I'm also like, as I get older, I'm like, I'm not, you know what, I realize I'm not opposed to a waiting period. I understand you have a right to self-defense, but if you have such an urgent desire, you really should be able to like go to somebody and report that. That is what the police and authority structures are for if your life is immediately in danger.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so, I don't know. But at the same time, I do stand kind of firmly on the, like I said, on the side of self-defense. And it's just like, listen, unless we're gonna, like, legalize swords or something. Which Omega would not be opposed to. But
I would love that. If they're legalizing swords, Lucky would probably carry an axe.
Just to be that guy.
I would be that guy.
But yeah, and also, that reminds me of another thought. Like, I know some people I've listened to some podcasts and stuff. Oh, well, honestly, swords are legal in certain states in the U.S. too. It's just not
in Washington after there was some dude walking around fucking downtown Seattle with a katana strapped to his back.
Yes, that's usually what happens, which I always find so weird. Because isn't your state open carry?
Yeah, we're open carry.
So that's a weird one. You can openly carry a firearm, but a guy with a katana freaked them out so bad they had to change the law. And then here's the thing about the law, kids, you should know. Lady Justice is blind, but that bitch never forgets. So laws do not go away unless somebody makes a concerted effort to remove them.
And it's funny too. Like, honestly, guys, if you ever get a chance, go check in your fucking your guys' code and see if you can just find some weird ass laws. I guarantee you'll find some.
In Florida, I learned this in school. In Florida, there is technically a state statute. You cannot park an elephant on a street, because we actually have is it the Ringling Brothers or the Barnum and Bailey? I've been to the fucking museum, I should remember. It's one of those guys. I think it's Ringling Brothers Circus. We have a museum to them, and they used to be based down here. Like, this was where they would come for training and stuff. So, hey, guess what? The circus has elephants, and they used to be kind of a fucking problem on the streets, so they made a law, like you do. But now, I don't think we have elephants in circuses anymore, so we don't need the law. But the law stays because changing a law is an enormous legal pain in the ass that involves a lot of taxpayer money, so we don't usually do that. I don't know how true it is, I haven't actually checked lately, but in the past, there is actually a rule that in Florida, a state law, that you could only have sexual relations in the missionary position with your blinds closed. Presumably for the purposes of procreation, right? Like, that's something somebody got in their heads to write down, and then we just don't get rid of. It's so weird.
If I remember correctly, in Washington State, we have a law against carrying an open filled fish bowl onto a bus. And I think there's also a law still in effect that once you get out of jail, the police department is supposed to give you a horse.
Oh, I love those. That's a fucking Old West ass law. Like,
yeah.
Listen, we let you let him out of prison. You gotta give him a horse so he can leave town. And then fast forward 100 years, and you're like, what the fuck am I gonna find a horse? They should amend the law to give you an eco-friendly moped instead.
I do want to actually. I don't ever want to get arrested, but who knows? I'm black. I might one day.
Deep cuts for lucky.
Okay, that was a little low. I'm sorry. But like, I do want to do that. I just get out. They let me out. I'm just be like, "Where's my horse?" And I'm just gonna flabbergast them. And maybe that. Like,
maybe you'll get the law changed. Maybe you'll get a horse. Police have horses. Oh man, that's a good one, Devilish. One of our patrons listening read out that in Eureka, California, it is illegal for a man with a mustache to kiss a woman.
Like, speaking of like that, like guns and stuff, like Lucky owns a gun, but he doesn't open carry that much because Lucky doesn't like. I said, I'm trying not to get too serious, but I do want to mention this. I said Lucky is black, and it was that people are paranoid, so. Even concealed carrying or open carrying, I don't feel comfortable being a black man open carrying a weapon out in public or concealed carrying. Because I'm just like, I'm always worried that like some cop or some person is just going to get stupid mad or stupid scared and call the cops on me.
Yeah. Like, that'd be how it be sometime.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, and I've seen the videos and I've been in the classrooms discussing it, there are people of all walks, but disproportionately black men. I do, in fact, have a degree in this. The statistics are, in fact, that way, and they should not be. You know, they'll get got going for a wallet, and it's just honestly, I'm trying to think how to phrase myself because I do have a decent amount of education on this subject, but I am also super white as the driven snow. So,
you are very pale.
Oh yeah, no. Especially we never go out in the sun in Florida anyway. Because I don't have, like, a pool. I wouldn't want to go in the lake. There's probably gators in there. We are going to get a dock soon, so who knows? Maybe I'll go chill under the dock and read my ebooks, play my gacha. Where's the Wi-Fi reaches out there? Anyway, we'll get a Wi-Fi repeater, put it next to the zipline. We're probably not actually getting a zipline, despite the fact that me and both my brothers and all brothers-in-law are for it. But anyway, while there is a systemic history of racism in this country, I will not deny that. And that is indeed, we're still getting over that in a lot of ways in a lot of places. There are also places that, outside of like the Deep South, that were not as systemically racist, where we still have this problem. And I relate it also to, well, right now I think it's interesting that we're in 2020, Lucky. I think right now we are hitting the decade paradigm shift of switching. Basically, we've been through a couple decades and we're switching stuff because we're coming up on 20 years since 9/11. Which, hey, by the way, guys, wrap your head around that one. That's a little freaky to me. But I think that was what really kicked off the militarization of police because while there was some kind of pushback in the war on drugs and get tough on crime we inherited in the 70s and 80s, which, hey, BT dubs, hi, again, criminal justice major, get tough on crime is bullshit. Cut it out. It never got tough on nothing other than filling your prisons up.
Yeah, and privatized prisons, that wasn't good.
Similarly, the drug war is fucking useless because it's not an actual war. You could probably take some of my opinions on criminal justice and crime and punishment in out of context very spicily, but Omega doesn't actually advocate necessarily like flying over third world countries, possibly that are shitholes filled with drug lords, and carpet bombing them. But if it was an actual war on drugs, that's what you do. We don't do that, so it's not working.
It's kind of seems like it was a half-assed effort, honestly, in weird ways.
Yeah, we said we were going to declare war on drugs, and then we declared war on drug users already in our country, which really doesn't help anybody.
Nope.
It definitely doesn't help them. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help the drug problem. At least you can argue it doesn't help the drug dealers, but that's one of those ancillary things, that's I lit myself on fire, so I got that guy too, but I'm on fire and my house burned down, so, a burglar invades your home, you light your house on fire. Well, you got the burglar, but yeah, there's a lot of that kind of rolled up into the Homeland Security and the oh shit, we're under attack. And then, furthermore, I think we saw a bit of an uptick in domestic terrorism again in the past couple of decades, and that really paradigm shifted for police, and now we've had a relatively peaceful, relaxed, most of a decade. We're trying to get out of foreign wars. We haven't started any new ones, really. We're mostly minding our own business, kind of.
Mostly.
Mostly. I mean, the current president still likes to yell at other countries a lot, but mostly so far he's confined himself to yelling. And economics, which I believe, I still believe is truly is the only thing President Trump actually cares about is economics.
Yeah, I believe.
But we've started to shift our paradigm. We're getting a little relaxed. We're getting a little I don't know. I think things are fine. And now we've suddenly hit the problem of, the collective unconsciousness hasn't communicated to the police that we're relaxed and we don't need this stuff anymore. Because, let's be real, even if you don't go as far as Omega, who, by the way, is a minarchist, I do actually believe in minimal government, so this whole defund the police thing is super cool with me. But even if you don't go that deep, if you're a rural precinct in West Virginia or whatever, you don't need an armored vehicle. You don't need a military surplus minesweeper. What are you going to do with it? Just embezzle your money and buy it on your own terms. Don't write it off as a taxpayer expense. If you want to get your joyride in, do it the old-fashioned way. I'm not a professional, but I have a degree in criminal justice. To enforce the law, you don't need grenade launchers and APCs and, dogs with laser eyes, okay? You don't need those. Well, those are cool, but they're not necessary. And I think we finally hit kind of a breaking point in our society where we're oh shit, we've just realized, wow, it turns out we didn't actually need all that ludicrous police spending and equipment to actually do our jobs. And, police are over-equipped and overly enthusiastic to handle everything with excessive force. We should maybe get them to stop that.
I would say over-equipped and under-trained. Jesus Christ, I've been reading stories about police training. I'm just all how?
Yeah, no, that's another thing. There are bad eggs. Yes. But in general, Omega doesn't hate police because they have a hard fucking job. They're supposed to serve and protect. When shit's on fire, when somebody crashes their car, when somebody hurts somebody, who you call? You call the cops. And they gotta deal with it day in, day out.
I remember reading a very interesting article about an ex-cop who was telling about all the stuff he had to take care of as a cop, but talked about the training he did. I think it was 500 hours? Yeah, I think it was 500 hours.
It's shockingly minimal.
Yeah.
Usually they stick you with a senior partner when you're a beat cop, but that also means that you're learning from old people, basically.
Yeah, and that gives you the pop. What was it called when it was just when people just pass on their prejudices and
there's a good word for that. I think just in general the term is institutional memory.
Yeah,
the police have institutional memory going back so far, which unfortunately means it goes back to the racist times, the times we don't like to talk about. Which
but as the Lucky likes cops, I said I'm worried about being shot by a cop, but like, not so much that like I can't talk to a cop. I can't thank a cop for doing his job or whatever. Like, I'm not like deathly afraid. It's just like if I have a gun on me, I might get shot. If I don't have a gun on me, I'm probably okay. Lucky's been pulled over a couple times. Not because driving while black, usually because his license, his tabs are fucking expired, and he's fucking dumbass because he didn't get to renew them. And I've had usually pretty good interactions with the cops. My favorite is, it was like, I don't know if I've told this story, but I'm gonna tell it again if I haven't. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. Lucky's driving on a highway. A cop pulls him over. He's like, "Oh my god, this is happening." Cop comes up, gives me like the straightest looking fuck. It's like, "Excuse me, do you have any drugs to declare? Any weapons? Any BOSs?" And I'm all like, "What's a BOS? A box of shoes." And sure enough, there is a box of shoes in the back of my back seat. I'm just like, "Yeah, I have a box of shoes." He's like, "Noted. I'm gonna need to see your license registration." And, he did the thing, gave me the ticket, but afterwards he was like, "All right, so I see your tabs are expired, and you have no insurance, but if you get your insurance taken care of right now and get your tabs, you can go to this place here and get everything dropped for like $25." And that's always an experience that stuck out with me because, like I said, like Lucky's not like super black, like he's kind of more mocha colored skin, but like it's just always it's always been that experience that's always set my interaction with cops. And I try to keep to that and keep that energy because, like I said, cops have a fucking hard job, man. And yeah, they're corrupt. Yeah, they're undertrained. Yeah, they probably have way more equipment than they can. But at the same time, they're fucking human too.
And I think that's really what people are after is just we want to recognize each other as human beings. Because not to take this in too dark a place, but I've seen some of the footage of like police handling protesters lately, and it's just like, no, that's not okay. You're not treating those people as human beings. And Omega probably shouldn't go to protests because I gotta be honest, even as white as I am, if a cop tries to poke me with a dumb stick, I'm gonna be like, "You cut that out right now," and then he's gonna do it again, and then I'm gonna get my ass kicked by like 5 cops because that's how cops work. They're like a hive mind. You poke. That is actual attested fact. The blue wall of silence. You poke a cop, cops will just appear around that guy to cover him. It's when you fuck up internally and you betray the bro code of the cops that they're like, "Fuck you, get out."
Oh, that's odd. That is like I remember reading in that article I was talking about. They had a fucking mantra: better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. For you who might not understand that, they'd rather you get judged on a jury of 12 people than carried in a coffin by 6 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just one of those things apparent. So it's like, yes, I think cops need, like I said, I'm not men government like Omega. I'm more moderate, but it's definitely to a point where it's like things need to change, things need to look better, but people need to. But I also think that people like everywhere need to take a moment and understand what they're doing. I guess.
Yeah. And some of the stuff falls into that nebulous zone of common sense, which is unfortunately fleetingly common in this day and age, but still matters. Like, okay, chokeholds.
No.
Stop it.
Neck.
That's bad.
No.
That's bad.
No, why?
The neck is very sensitive. It's like you don't hit people in the head to knock them out. And obviously, okay, yes, there are health risks to a tasering, but it's a lot more scientifically proven and less analog than other stuff. And by the way, this is an actual thing. At no point, by the way, do the police actually or military call any of this non-lethal. All of this tech is called less lethal.
Less lethal.
And they acknowledge that there is a risk. That said, I do think it should be mandated that any officer who wants to carry pepper spray or carry a taser has to be pepper sprayed or tasered first. That should be a law somewhere. Just because there are, unfortunately, way too many assholes who are way too casual with the pep spray, and capsaicin is not fun. I've not been pepper sprayed, but I understand the chemical process, and if you've ever, just think about if you've ever accidentally, touched your face when you've eaten spicy hot chicken wings. It's like that, but worse.
Lucky was in the military, and everyone in the military goes through the fucking tear gas chamber.
Yes, right. Which is another thing. We casually throw out CS gas like it's fucking cotton candy. No, that shit's bad. It's not cool.
like, again, this is one of those things I said, like, fucking not enough training. I want my cops still, but I want them to be better trained, and I want them to not be a fucking
the
brotherhood
de-escalation and the, like, careful with the techniques, and just in general, we need to, like, paradigm shift. We need to switch from, oh shit, we're under attack by terrorists, to, hey, you guys are cops, you're part of the community, you are the defense mechanism we want when people are causing trouble in our neighborhood.
Actually, that reminds me, I need to check on the Seattle Autonomous Zone.
The last I heard, I believe they were supposed to clear out. I don't know if they actually packed up yet. That was a really interesting thing to hear about. That is...
Oh, yeah.
At times in his life. I say, Omega says he's minarchist, but that's because he's practical. The sweet siren song of anarchy does call to him sometimes, because, guys, let me tell you, no gods, no masters is super cool, but you also need to eat and have roads. And if something happens to you, you'd like an ambulance to show up and take you to some place where somebody can actually fix you.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an unfortunate story that happened, I believe, with the Autonomous Zone, where there was a shooting and somebody got injured, and the paramedics, their procedure is not to go into an area unless cops secure it when it's a shooting victim. But the cops were stopped at the edge because it's supposed to be a cop-free zone. And unfortunately, the victim was not tended to correctly and died.
Yeah, and they didn't have actual, like, full-on medical facilities in the sense they had, like, volunteer paramedics and whatnot, so it was pretty, but, shit, where was I going? Oh, yeah, I was looking at, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Chaz. It's been an interesting thing. Like I said, I kind of agree with it, but I also kind of don't agree with it. Like, that's Lucky in a nutshell right there. Like I said, I profess myself as a moderate. I usually try to look at all the stances of all things and go, okay, I like this from here, and I don't like this from here. And on the other side, I like this, but I don't like this.
As a concept, the Autonomous Zone, really interesting. I'm really interested to see where this goes, because practical data is important. But at the same time, I heard this story, and I'm like, ooh, well, okay, this is immediately going to fall victim to human limitations, and it did.
I remember what I was going to say. Anarchy is great, but I always find it only a transition between governments.
Yes, much like the classic civilization.
Anarchy, is usually what happens after government falls and before our government is going to start, because humans are a societal creature, and I'm not going to say they're lazy, but humans definitely always look for someone to lead them or to make decisions for them, especially in this day and age of convenience and whatnot. So
humans are self-organizing, and because we are like higher intelligence level beings, we seek to simplify, efficiency, and comfort ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, why bother spending 20 years to learn how to be a blacksmith when you can build an assembly line where these people need no training and only have to work 8 hours a day to turn out way more tools? Boom. Oh, wait, what if we just replace those people with literal robots who don't need to be paid? The question is just, by the way, about the great, society. Why don't we make everything autonomous? Is one, how do we make sure that we don't build robots that build robots? And two, because then robots don't need us. That's the kicker. That's the sci-fi thing. The robots don't need us, and then they get rid of us because we're slowing down the efficiency. And the second is, how do you were paying and training those people to do that stuff. Now they're autonomous. Do they just relax in a garden somewhere eating bonbons and grapes? Ideally, yes, but problems, systems, practicality is, I think, what we're getting at here.
Yeah, but so, oh shit, I lost where I was going because now I'm thinking about robots and shit.
You were talking about it's actually giving a very Zen Buddhist statement about how chaos is the transition from order to disorder and back.
Well, yeah, it is. Because, as I said, Lucky's not against a little bit of anarchy here and there, because, sometimes in order things to change, you just literally have to burn everything to the ground. Honestly, that is, some people might sound as a little extremist of me, but I believe that's, what needed is in America, because of how the system works, it is entirely way too hard to actually get any major change done. It has to be done over a micro scale, and then that micro scale effort can easily be overdone by whoever.
And I agree with Lucky on this. You need to be willing to demolish your foundations and start over, because otherwise, as history has taught us, society will do that on its own.
Yeah. So, but it's just the fact of once you reach a state of anarchy, it is literally going to be the dark times for a little while, and it's just what comes up after that is no one's guess. And as I said, people kind of have a fear of the unknown. And here's another thing. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about what protests did, what riots did, what cops did, but everyone is only willing to put their neck out so far. What am I saying here? Like, people aren't usually going so far as to willingly risk their life or the life of others in pursuit of their goals. They usually have a comfort level, and once they hit that comfort level, they stop. For some, it's donating money. For others, it's protesting. Some go a little bit wilder and they riot. Some, jump on cop cars with cops on them and stand in front of, like, moving vehicles. But,
and I will say some of that has to do with catharsis, right?
Yeah.
Some of that has to do with you have emotions, you don't know what to do with them. Our deep-seated natural human instinct is grr, thing bad, me smash. It's very caveman, right? It's very much that, like, there's something fucking up my social order. I'm gonna fuck it up. And then after like 5 minutes, you realize I've thrown a rock through a Starbucks. This Starbucks is not a saber-toothed tiger. What the fuck am I doing? Right? That's what that response is supposed to be. That response is supposed to be there's an animal or there's another tribe or there's a natural feature in my way. And then humans are like, I'm gonna pave it. And then you're like, that doesn't work in our modern society very well.
No. Like I said, like, again, it's just one of those things. It's like Lucky's not necessarily on anyone's side. He's on his own side. And he looks at everyone and it's all like, things could be better, things could be worse. But all in all, I think it should be burnt to the ground. Like, you were talking about the Constitution earlier. I keep telling myself, it'd just be great if I just put the Constitution into a goddamn museum, forgot about it, and wrote a whole new damn one based on modern society.
I mean, like, you could do that. I would say the Constitution is a very well-written document. I was going to bring this up earlier, but we kept talking about other stuff. I heard some other podcasts talking about, like, oh, man, we haven't had an amendment in a long time. Why don't we have something to deal with, like, digital tech? And I'm like, because technically you don't need to. Number 4 says that you should be secure from unwarranted search and seizures in your papers and effects, which should include your computers. Now, there's some assholes who are strict and are like, a computer is not a paper, but they're old and will die someday.
Well, as long as the assistant, as long as their follow-ups aren't picked on the same values that the predecessor had.
Yeah, though, I mean, there is that, but generally, interestingly, statistical trends are that each subsequent generation is getting more and more tolerant and progressive and more tech-savvy.
Oh yeah, no, like, totally.
Eventually, the inertia of old white dudes will die out.
Eventually. But will I be alive for it? That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know. And I've said this before about my whiteness. That is always an interesting thing, right? Like, Lucky has his own feelings, and I have my own feelings about stuff on account of our, I guess, racial background, so what you want to call that. My background of being super white and super Anglo. So sometimes I feel like, and actually, that is a thing we could do, because we talked about that like 2 weeks ago and forgot to do it, the personality thing, and actually do that on air.
Oh, yeah.
But I've talked before about how my type is very, I don't necessarily like to, like, throw my, unless prompted, I don't like to throw my feelings and thoughts on stuff far and wide. Yeah. I'm not very preachy about them. But generally, I've gotten the impression that most of the time, when it comes to that sort of thing, people don't necessarily care about what I got to say, so I hold it in. Sometimes they do, and sometimes it's good to get, like, refreshment, or not refreshment, reinforcement is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. On your own opinions and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's...
When did the fuck that team a squirrel?
Squirrel? Nice squirrel. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. It wasn't because of the squirrel. I was already getting a little meandering. What was I saying? I got distracted by the personality thing, I think. But hold on, give me a minute. I gotta wheel within wheels this.
Yeah, sorry. You were talking about how you're being like super white, and how some you don't cast your feelings far and wide because you don't necessarily,
Yeah, people don't necessarily want to hear it from me.
Yeah.
I don't got to deal with that thing. But yeah, now I remember. Sometimes people's general damnation of white people sounds very racist to me as a white guy.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I'm very egalitarian. Like, my response is not, oh man, men were shitty to women a lot, so women can cast shade at men impunely. I'm like, no, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Like I said, look at statistics. I'm not gonna start listing numbers on things because that's, like I said, we're having a serious talk, but I don't want to start, taking
we don't
shots,
necessarily
you know?
want to bum anybody out or like get super deep in the facts in the middle of the show because we're not research for this. It's like 9 o'clock at night and we don't know what we're saying, guys. We're sorry. But
like, as I said, like, no, like, as I said, Lucky definitely believes there is racism towards white people, because all racism is making judgments upon person upon the color of their skin or their race. And white people are not immune to that either. So
and there is, I believe, kind of an old white guy club.
It totally is.
But they're not passing out free invitations.
No.
Because if they are, I haven't got mine. Like, my life has not been magically made perfect, I should say. In some ways, I'm sure it has been made easier. That's, privilege. But I think I've said this before about privilege and about people's struggles. Everybody has their own struggle, right? Just because it's not the same, just because I don't have to deal with a thing like, I would... Well, Omega's paranoid, so he'd probably be cautious around cops anyway, but that's because I have a criminal justice degree, so I'm that guy who's like, I'd be the smart-ass one to be like, I don't have to answer that, which probably would annoy cops, but I would be like, but I don't actually have to answer that. BT Dubs, by the way, you don't have to tell cops shit. You have a right to silence, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes when you're not arrested. Like, you don't have to let cops in your house either. If you don't actually have anything to hide, and you don't think there's any shenanigans afoot, there's no reason to block them, but also, like, unless they got a warrant, you don't go do shit.
There's actually a lot of things, like, there's supposed to be things for, like, cops. If, like, a cop's trying to get into your house, you can actually request them to show you, like, I think, 3 forms of ID to prove that they're a cop.
Mm-hmm. Prove that they're a cop, and also, if they don't have a search warrant, they are not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
They are just straight up they are not supposed to come in your house, unless there's, like, an urgent danger thing. Like, if somebody's in your back pool screaming for help, they're like, oh shit, somebody's in danger, exit circumstances.
Oh god, that just makes me think of fucking no-knock warrants and bullshit. That's another big thing that's been...
no-knock. I understand the principle behind the no-knock, but we got a little, much like with wiretapping and stuff, we once again got a little out of hand with that.
If I remember this, like, this is actually, I think, like, 50% of no-knocks are actually, like, done improperly or something.
Probably.
Crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, so what I was saying is that there's... Everybody has their own struggles, and just because I don't have to deal with Lucky's struggle about that doesn't mean that, like, I got a free pass. That's going back to Lucky's point about how we all need to remember we're all human and stuff. That's really the thing, I think, is that, like, we need to remember that everybody is struggling in your own way. Okay, we've said this, right? Some cops are bad seeds. Some cops are assholes and racists and whatever. Like, they've had a bad, a bad time, or they've been misformed by society, whatever. But most of them are dealing with whatever their own bullshit is, right? Like, so, you should always be aware of that. Just because a homie gets to wear a badge doesn't mean that he's not struggling. And honestly, fuck, I don't know. I bet beat cops don't see as much of that money that goes into armored vehicles and shit as they'd like either.
No.
Would like cops be better if they were paid better?
Police department is its own club, in a way.
Well, I think in the way it's just like the army. There's one color in the army, and there's one color of police, blue. Like, if when you get down to it, especially for big police departments, that's the way it is.
Oh man, I didn't know. Honestly, I did not think we'd be going into this. Just me talking about guns, me going to a gun show earlier.
No, but we got on stuff. I don't know. It's what happens. It's what happens when we don't have anything specifically to talk about. We could talk about Cyberpunk if you like.
A little bit. So look, because I originally started telling this fucking story because I was going to tell people why I was so goddamn tired.
Oh,
that was the original intent, and we have just drifted so hard.
Actually, before we talk about Cyberpunk, I should tell why I'm sleepy story. It's very short, but it involves, it was in the Patron post last night, nature constantly trying to fuck my shit up. I was up super late last night because I was uploading Let's Talk for Today, and the power kept going out, possibly for several minutes at a time. Now, I'm double stacked in backups, and we've recently got more house backups, so our router and stuff stays up. So the video kept uploading, everything was fine, but it was a real crisis of, like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, the upload is like 50% done. Do I have to stop this motherfucker? And the lights and fans come back on. I'm like, safe. And it goes out again, comes back. I stayed up probably too late waiting for this thing to go, and I just didn't. I didn't fall asleep, I think, until after 8 a.m. just because I wasn't sleeping at all. I was just like, I was wide awake doing the thing and suffering, and then I got on a different tangent I might bring up later, but I had a hard time getting to sleep. Part of it also might be because while I was fucking around with one of my ups during when the power was out, because I realized I actually have Ethernet cables. The internet's in our basement, but I have cables piped up to me that are split out of a little splitter box to my PC and my PS4. Mm-hmm. I realized that's not plugged in, so the LAN cable sometimes loses power juice. So I did a little hot swap of the cables with one of the cables I wasn't using, but Omega was a dumbass, and he accidentally touched the prongs while they weren't all the way out. Oof. Got a little bit of a buzz, and it is now well over 12 hours later. I think my fingertips are slightly burned because they're still a little bit tingly, and my arm is still sore. It was extra dumb. It was my left side too. Ooh. So yeah, I rode the lightning a little bit. It wasn't a big shock. It was just it's the fucking PC power cable, and it's not like it's a big deal, but it rung my bell a little bit. So I'm still like gently touching. No, I have not yet become infamous, man. I'm not yet Cole. If I develop the ability to shoot lightning at things, you guys will be the first to know.
If you get the ability to shoot lightning, I'm gonna be super fucking mad. I'm just telling you that right now.
Listen, you just gotta hug more live power cables, Lucky. That's how it works in all my animes. Speaking of which, Cyberpunk's getting an anime.
Cyberpunk is getting an anime. Well, to explain, Cyberpunk did this big event because, as I said, the game got pushed back to November. Mm-hmm. Everyone cried. I cried.
Though apparently, they did a big press push because of this, like to do their whole announcement. I've heard from a lot of people that delay is probably good because the game is very big and complex and still has, like, the demos people are playing now still have a couple of bugs and stuff for, like, shit won't proc or something.
But the trailer that they linked was real good.
Yeah, the gig is what they're calling it.
But
a lot of good stuff.
But they also announced that they're doing an anime headed by Studio Trigger of Kill la Kill fame. And Little Witch Academia. I'd say those are big too. I wouldn't necessarily put Darling in the Franxx in there.
No, and that was a collab too.
Yeah.
Kill la Kill is the thing that made Trigger famous, and then Little Witch is a big thing they did with Netflix. A lot of people like Promare. Or is it Promare? Probably Promare.
I just always called it Premiere.
Premiere? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know the pronunciation. I haven't seen it. If you know, please correct me in the comments. I don't want to fully myself,
like,
though.
Slight correction. The people behind Studio Trigger worked on Gurren Lagann, but that was back in the Gainax days.
Yeah, that was, and we've told this story before, but Trigger is formed by a lot of Gainax refugees.
Yeah.
Who worked on things like Gurren Lagann, like Fooly Cooly, and like, I believe some of them even go all the way back to Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Crazy. And Gridman, well, I fucking love, didn't seem to make as much waves. And people just remember Rika thighs, and that's about it.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people remember the anime for Gridman, because it was a little bit... Ooh, okay, so it's big in Japan. Probably because it's a nostalgia bait over there, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's all nostalgia bait. It's fucking Ultraman, Gridman, the fucking Americanized version of Gridman, Transformers.
Yeah, so yeah, it has nostalgia power over there.
Big nostalgia power.
But yeah, the character designs were still big and are clearly selling. Oh, though, weird story about Evangelion. I watched one of those, anime openings through the ages videos. One, people, you should actually check that shit out, because watching old anime openings is a trip. Because there's a lot of evolution. Some of the old ones are just, original theme songs or casual, just some Japanese guy or lady belting out soul ballads over animation frames that are very 70s. Though shockingly, I'm pretty sure Speed Racer translated it pretty well. Like, I'm pretty sure the theme song beats are the same in both languages. They're just in different languages. But there's this weird thing when you get to the mid-90s where you're seeing you see some classics, some classic styling, some tunes, and then you get to Cruel Angel's Thesis, and it's like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, it even in as far as its opening, it was such a departure from other stuff in its era. It was freaky.
Hey, it did a little bit of a paradigm shift, just a little bit. Like, it just posted fucking the Gundam Wing opening, because I remember that shit from my youth.
Yeah, I think that was one of the. There were a couple Gundams in there, because those are apparently very classic.
Motherfucking Just Communication.
I think the one they started with was Astro Boy, which is actually like both in terms of itself, but also the opening is like, oh yeah, no, this is very clearly some like old ass classic shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we were talking about Cyberpunk is collabing with Trigger, with the big deal guys, to make an anime, Cyberpunk Edgerunner.
I find it interesting that all these sci-fi franchises get anime adaptations of things.
Well, for Cyberpunk in particular, I can see why, because anime and Cyberpunk are kind of like an Ouroboros eating its own tail type of shit. Like,
Blade. Wasn't that Blade Runner that fueled Ghost in the Shell, or was it the other way around? I can't remember.
Blade Runner came out first. Blade Runner but Blade Runner was set during a time when we thought Japan was going to take over, right? So there's a lot of Japanese influences in Gibson, Street Samurai, that sort of stuff. That influenced Masamune and then the movies of Ghost in the Shell, the manga and stuff, to do all that cyberpunk stuff, which in turn then fed back because the guys who developed the Matrix, the Wachowskis were super influenced by Ghost in the Shell, and then back and forth and back and forth. The Matrix did so many cues that are replicated in anime and movies now, and it keeps going back and forth, back and forth.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just thinking in recent times, Altered Carbon got a CG anime movie. When Blade Runner 2 came out, they had Blade Runner Blackout, which was an anime short that came out with it.
Animatrix.
Animatrix.
Some of which were animated by some big-name Japanese studios and are very lovely.
Very lovely. And as I said, right now we got we got Trigger doing this. I'm really interested in what they're going to do with character design. Trigger is kind of has a very unique aesthetic, so I'm just kind of how are they going to do this? I'm curious.
Yeah, Trigger, I wouldn't say Trigger's designs are unrealistic, but Trigger is all about stylization. Mm-hmm. And they are willing to shed the boundaries of their mortal coil to do some really intense weird animation. Like Kill la Kill had some real that was honestly overall people standing around not weird, but when people got talking or when the action got going, they were like, fuck it, it's a cartoon, dude. And there's a lot of yeah, no, is it going? just that little but honestly, that's action scenes like this one in the third episode are actually really tight. There's some weirder shit. Everything with fucking yeah, there's the image. You can see some of the character design stuff. He's got a jacket and he's got a glowing fist. Jackets are very important. Oh, actually, though, speaking of Cyberpunk, I need to track it. I need to track that down. That tweet about
the body customization?
Yes. Let me see if I can find it.
Lucky has said this before. I am unchained. I am ready to be my big titty goth Fudanari. You will not stop me.
Okay, here's the list. Because that was the other thing they talked about was... Because people have had hands-on time, and they've had presumably what is the full character creator, hopefully, in.
Maybe.
Yeah, it might get bigger. We don't know. But this is what was offered in the demo to several people who were playing it, mostly through streaming and stuff. But you have 6 skin types, 35 hairstyles, 17 eyes, 8 eyebrows, 17 mouths, 17 jaws, 7 ears, 8 cybernetic bits, so you can have some pre-cyber stuff like cosmetics, 9 types of scars, 6 types of tattoos, and I believe stuff like scars and tattoos and other stuff includes none. There's 11 piercings, 5 types of teeth, 8 bits of eye makeup, 5 bits of lip makeup, 3 blemishes, 3 types of nipples, 5 types of body tattoos, 2 types of body scars, 2 penis types, 1 vagina option, 2 penis size options, 5 types of pubic hair. So I'm pretty sure V's gonna be pretty naked at some points.
Oh, yeah.
And they've already said that, remember some of these options include none as an option. And they have already said that your, gendered build and voice and pronouns and stuff are fluid in game. You can set them to be whatever.
Really?
I gotta be honest, if these are this in-depth, I will probably not be streaming this game, because, ooh boy, talk about a community guidelines takedown, Lucky. Ooh.
Yeah.
Not even Twitch allows that stuff. I expect a lot of people are gonna have to censor their character creation. Though, to briefly tangent, a game that I will 100% stream, even though there's no fucking way we can monetize it, will be Star Wars Squadrons. I will play that on stream with people and do the story, but I'm gonna warn everybody now, it's probably not gonna make me any money, because Daddy Disney will be like, I'm sorry, you used 5 seconds of John Williams, your wallet belongs to me now, and when I say, what about fair use? They'd be like, we're Disney, we don't do that here.
What is the law in face of all our money?
Yeah, Disney is like, I make the laws, huh? I'm not very good at Mickey Mouse. Maybe if I quoted some Kingdom Hearts. But yeah, so Cyberpunk is delayed till November, but that seems like necessary polish. Supposedly, everybody's going to get it, who's got it for the previous gen will get a free upgrade to next gen. They'll all be backwards compatible. And it sounds really cool. They showed off a new mechanic called Brain Dance, where you basically get to read a person's memories and kind of like fast forward and scrub through them to find stuff. That's really cool. I've heard some of the people who actually played the demo that in its current form, it's a little bit tedious. But I don't know, maybe that's just, depending on what you wanted of the game. I have always said that Cyberpunk isn't going to cure cancer or anything, but...
It still seems super ambitious.
It is going to be super ambitious, and I hope it holds up. But also at the same time, I'm just like, I've heard combat feels good, the shooting is good, and the melee combat is good even. And there will be melee combat. You can do swords and stuff, because of course, it's Cyberpunk. But I've heard that the controls and stuff are really fluid, and there's a very strong emphasis on character customization. This is your story, 100%. Like, I heard some people who played the demo be like, yeah, no, the way I started and how I did it's almost got like, it sounds like a Dragon Age Origins type thing, where depending on which background you pick, your starting story and why you're in the plot are different. If you pick a nomad, you actually start in the Badlands, the outside area. And if you play as a corpo, you are actually like a corporate fixer who gets in over their head and gets fired, kind of stuff.
Well, if they're going this big, I can understand why it's taking so goddamn long.
Yeah, and like it says, the demos apparently do still have some, like, quests don't necessarily pop correctly kind of stuff, And I've heard that that's the thing that, like, some of the Witcher games still have that sometimes with some stuff.
Like, so
they're trying really hard to make this game as polished as they can at launch and avoid a lot of the foibles of, like I said, it's the nega Bethesda plan. Bethesda's like, the bugs are a feature. We're not gonna fix shit. Fuck you. You'll buy Skyrim on your Alexa.
Oh yeah, by the way, the first I'm on this game's been in development for like 7 years. The first teaser
it's
trailer,
one of the classic vaporware games, right up there with Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah, but the first teaser trailer, which premiered at an E3, I think it was, came out January. Well, no, it didn't come out anything because it's January 10th, 2013. But that's when they posted on their YouTube at least. But goddamn.
No, and I remember that one, and it's been in a while for a long time. But it's pretty cool. I don't know. It's gonna depend. I'm probably gonna be a street kid, and I like hacker manning, but also I like murdering people.
Lucky will probably go for a hybrid build that just focuses more on some stealth. He loves stealth.
That's true. And if the shooting controls are really good, I will like a giant sniper rifle. I like to play a sneakman. We'll see. I'll also have to see how much your build affects social stuff, or it's all just choices and dialogue options.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Deus Ex, you can totally build a social build, but your augs and like skill points and stuff very much affects that. So, but yeah, I'm interested to see what they do. Another thing people have said is it seems like the game is geared so that replayability works. Like you pour all your heart and soul in the game, and then you can play as a different origin and different class build, and you can get a wildly different experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the important thing is that also we don't know shit about the real story yet. Like all the stuff with the Chip and Jackie and stuff is all the prologue, which I've heard of a couple people who played the demo they put out for press, which was like 4+ hours. They still weren't out of the prologue stuff yet.
Yeah, like they showed a trailer, and I'm pretty sure everything in that trailer was just a prologue, and it seemed wild.
Yeah, so it's very interesting what they're going for here. It sounds like it's got kind of like a classic movie structure, and video games obviously are a larger scale, but what would in a movie be equivalent of like the first 30 minutes to an hour are like the slow build prologue, blah blah blah, normal life. Then there's the call to action and all that stuff, and then it's like then there's going to be a big long second act of you actually doing the thing, and then a climax. But also, it's a big boy tabletop type RPG that's going to have shitloads of side quests, even in the prologue. And it sounds like there's a lot of options for like exploring and doing stuff.
Like really, as I said again, I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably getting Cyberpunk day one.
I got my pre-order in. I'm ready.
Yeah, I haven't got mine in. I'm waiting for to see special editions or stuff and other things.
I think I ordered mine last year, and I'm like, Amazon, ship it to me. Ship it to me, baby.
I haven't decided if I want a special version or not. And I'm also kind of waiting to see if a fucking PS5 is going to be out by then.
Yeah, that is a question at this point. They are backwards compatible, though, supposedly, however that works.
Yeah. So I'm like, holding my cards to my chest. But, yeah, again, as I said, I'm super excited. Sci-fi is just one of, especially, well, I won't necessarily say cyberpunk and all, but sci-fi settings has always been near and dear to me. I think I love them more than, fantasy settings, actually. Just because usually things get a little bit more wild.
Fantasy is very set in its tropes.
Yeah. Honestly, if for some odd reason, very few, I think one of my problems with fantasy is very few of them want to tread that path of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So
Correct,
much.
because, well, most medieval European fantasies are set in the equivalent of the Dark Ages, where the Catholic Church was feverishly trying to suppress sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
If we had more mythic-style fantasy, that's honestly why I think a lot of people like urban fantasy, because that takes a lot of classical myth tropes and remixes them, and you can do a lot of fun stuff there. And a little fork over to something else I've been doing lately that I want to talk about, maybe. But if you had, classical mythological fantasy, right? When Greeks were, banging dudes and drinking wine. Lucky, did you know that there has been a wine cult probably since before humans could read and write?
Oh yeah, a lot of people like to say that fucking agriculture only became a big thing because people realized they could fucking make alcohol.
But yeah, there have been wine cults since Mesopotamia, basically. As soon as humans realized you could make beer and make wine, there was somebody like, holy shit, being drunk is literally heavenly. Which, I don't know about that part, but I'm sure if you're a peasant dirt farmer in the year 6000 BC or whatever, being drunk probably seems pretty rad.
Oh yeah,
drink this water and not get sick, and also get super, super crunk. This is the coolest. I want to do this all the time. But yeah, I think is an issue with generic D&D-esque, Tolkien-esque middle fantasy. Is we have to deal with our own puritanical values and Christianization, which leads to a lot of interesting things. But if you don't want to talk too much more about sci-fi stuff, that does lead me to another thing I've been doing that I want to talk about, that I think our audience will appreciate, if they don't know about it already. So something I've been doing a little bit lately, past couple of days, is I have been watching a lot of videos by Overly Sarcastic Productions.
Ah, yes.
You probably have heard of them, but they do a lot of videos, and unfortunately I've mostly been watching the mythological or folkloric ones. Haven't really got too much into the history ones, so I don't know. I know that they call the male presenter Blue, and he shows up sometimes, but I don't know if the female presenter has a name. She's Red. Is she Red? I don't fucking know. But they're good. Yeah, she's just Red. Okay. I appreciate them because they're short usually and to the point, but also because they really hit on something that Omega's always hit on, which is just, and there's no real canonicity to myths and folklore. It's all a past tense thing, right? We get to look at the multitudinous layers of culturalization that led to stuff and kind of explain things. There was one video I watched about the history of Aphrodite and kind of did some over-level stuff, talked about myths, and then explained the actual history of the Aphrodite cult, which I've said this before, relating to FGO and stuff, but hey, Aphrodite is just Ishtar. That's actually how that works. Ishtar became Inanna and then was transmitted to the Levant as Astarte, and then moved into islands off Greece as Aphrodite, and then was adopted by the greater Greek, and then eventually became Venus of the Romans by conflating her with other deities. So that's a really interesting one to think about. But they talked about how there are multitudinous creation myths and kind of sources and stuff for who came from where and who did what. And then talked about epithets, but it really set the tone of oh yeah, no, there's a history for why everything is the way it is. This god was split off from that god, did that thing. And also talks a lot about myths. So there's some interesting, and it's got some interesting notes about things that Omega always puts a point on, but sometimes it's not clear to, they've actually, made stuff with clear examples that are news even to me, which is saying something because I love this stuff. But it's great. You should check it out. But one example is talking about like myths and legends of founding and stuff. And hey, Lucky, did you know the whole sympathetic Medusa thing we talk about? We talk about that's only one version, right?
Yeah.
That's all just Ovid. Ovid made that up. And if you guys don't know who Ovid is, well, he is a very important poet and writer on the subject. He's also super late to the game because he was a contemporary of Caesar Augustus, aka late Imperial Rome. He's about the period of the Aeneid. Until then, most actual Greek portrayals of the various Gorgons was that they were somewhat monstrous or at least natural forces before that. But you see, Ovid didn't really like Augustus Caesar, and so a lot of his stories have a very anti-imperial, anti-authoritarian bent. Hence why a lot of his works, say, dab on Athena and other major deities of the institutions. So that's like, okay, you can get negative impressions of some people from those, but then if you look at the greater historical context, you're like, wait a second, you're way later. Why should I believe your version over the old-ass version that people were telling for like 400 years or whatever? Yeah, I've done the Dionysus one. I started watching some of them for research for some of my own stuff, and then I just got hooked because the presenting style is very good. Because it's got that kind of kitschy, irreverent, modern version. I don't know how... They're not actually overly sarcastic, but there's the occasional bit of sarcasm and snarkiness, which is fun. And also, we constantly call Zeus on him being a dick, because he really is. He really is kind of a dick. Like, there's no myth drift there. Zeus is kind of a cockmongler, but he does occasionally do important stuff, like fight giants. Also, they did some Norse ones, which were pretty funny, because they talked about how, yeah, usually we think of Odin as like Zeus or like capital G God, but he's not really, because Odin loves knowledge and is kind of a fucker who goes around wandering around figuring shit out. But
still doesn't like giants, though.
Nope. No, and but there was a lot of shenanigans with giants. But where I was going with that was I've got into some. They did it's 20 minutes, which is long for them, but they did a 20-minute video on the Arthurian Cycle, which summarizes a conversation I've had several times with the audience we have a lot better, so I think I'm just going to link it from now on, because it goes all the way back to, like, okay, so there was a period of time where some stuff happened in history, and maybe there was a King Arthur, maybe there wasn't, who knows. But then it's like, so we start with the record of kings, which briefly mentions, yeah, there was a guy named Arthur, there was a Mordred, which, by the way, that's a thing I've had to tell people. Mordred has actually been in the Camelot canon, the Matter of Britain, since the beginning. Same with Merlin. Like, they're old.
Yes.
It's actually Lancelot and Galahad who are late ads, because Geoffrey of Monmouth kind of romanticized the whole thing and made the big long story, but Lancelot wasn't until after Geoffrey of Monmouth published, because then a French poet was like, hey, this is cool. What if I just added my fucking fanfiction OC? He's Lancelot, he's super cool, and the bestest, and also he's banging Arthur's wife, because courtly love is cool. Yeah, Lancelot Duloc. And then later versions Christianize the story and were like, man, all this adultery's not cool. Lancelot is kind of a fuckboy. But his son, the beautiful and perfect Virgin of Galahad, he's super cool. R.I.P. Percival. Though, technically, at least as far as, like, folkloric goes, there is some precedent for that, because I think it either was not produced or we lost the bits where Percival actually heals the Fisher King and completes the Grail quest. So, technically, even in the original cycle, Percival maybe didn't do the thing. We don't know. That's another fun fact about history and myths, is sometimes we just don't know. There's parts where we lose off, but it's very interesting to see the whole thing, and yes, it's actually very important for this discussion, because, like, it talks about how, like, Morgan Le Fay has gone through, like, a shitload of alterations, or how in the original, I think it was even in the original Geoffrey of Monmouth, Arthur's older half-sister is called Anna, and she's not a villain. Like, it's a whole thing. And in some other versions, Morgan and Morgause aren't one. Also, they do lip service to fate. They talk about it at the end when talking about how the myth is gone. They do the whole thing of, like, what if King Arthur had been a girl? What if Merlin was a skinny British kid? Kind of thing. Like, talks about all the variations of the mythos, which is cool.
That's nice.
But yeah, so like I said, if anybody ever asks me to explain the Matter of Britain again, I'm just going to link them that video, because it's like, nah, it's cool. And then they have a follow-up one about some of Arthur's knights telling some fun stories, including a personal favorite about, she retells Gawain and the Green Knight.
Oh, lovely.
Which is a fun one, because the moral of that story is that being a perfect flawless Mary Sue like Lancelot is not necessary. You can be an okay knight even if you're just trying. That's right, Gawain. Good old college try. So yeah, check out their videos. And I use them for some research points. Give me some cool ideas for some servants. I feel like there was a second point I wanted to fork off from there, but I've lost it now.
Lucky's decided that he wants, by the way, speaking of cool servant content, Lucky has decided he wants a Yasuke servant. For those not know, Yasuke was a black samurai who served under Oda Nobunaga and was thought as a demon at one point and was supposed to be super strong and actually a lot of things. So I think he'd be servant. I think he'd be great. I find it's one of those weird things that you just learn from history. It's like, no, totally. There was a fucking black samurai. Like Neo, you're right. Neo actually conned me onto a lot of more esoteric things, like fucking Anjin being a fucking thing. I was like, this dude was just a white ass samurai that fucking.
Yeah, that was I think that was the historical basis for the novel Shogun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little stuff like that.
Yeah.
There were, speaking of historical black people, there were a couple of black knights, who were not just villains clad in black. That's actually a discussion. I got into a discussion with some of the players, and I wrote a servant called Black Knight, who is just the phantom spirit of all those guys who in the Arthurian mythos were just called the Black Knight. Because some of them were just dudes in black, but some of them were heroes, including, Moors or, North Africans, and who joined the Arthur's Knights, and were, of course, called black because nobody has any goddamn originality. But also, I think it was in the story of, I think it was in the original story of Percival, is he, runs into a knight who turns out to be his half-brother, but, he's biracial, because his mother was an African princess. They, unfortunately, apparently portray that in the original, that he has, basically vitiligo, like, parts of his skin are white and parts of them are dark, because that's good old medieval science for you. We're like, what happens if you have a biracial baby? I don't know, maybe they're patchwork like a quilt. But still, it's like interesting themes, and they go on to do adventures and stuff. The King Arthur mythos is full of just a lot of like running into knights, having a fight, and being like, "You're cool. You want to go do quest stuff together? Cool, let's do quest stuff."
Quest stuff. It's literally a D&D campaign.
Kind of, yeah. Speaking about those bases of medieval fantasy. Though I will say that was especially post-Christianization, but even in the early days, because courtly love is all about like unattainable and like love for love's sake and stuff. It's not necessarily super deep on the sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing you're talking about.
Yeah,
and honestly, sometimes I think we go a little too far. If you go too historical realism down and gritty, the people of the past were just as shitty as everybody else, you can lose some of the stuff. Like Game of Thrones is cool and all, but also the whole dark fantasy, whatever, magic's like mostly a lie or chicanery and stuff, except for the ice zombies, I guess. They're old. And everybody's dead and smells like shit. That can wear on you in a certain context, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's an interesting exploration of just be like, no, this is probably more historically accurate to actual knights and lords and stuff, but also it's not as fun. Stretchy jaw.
Oh, but as I said, usually when I want to go on a fucking wild and crazy ride, I look to fucking sci-fi. Like
speculative fiction in general is usually the best for like those weird stuff, because, like you said, a lot of fantasy falls into tropes, and a lot of fantasy is just look at this storytelling in this vaguely ahistorical period.
Well, there might be magic. There might be monsters.
But there's no, 10-foot tall guy made by Gaia who gets trapped under a mountain. Typhon's a trip, guys.
Yeah, Titans are fucking trip.
Scale and stuff is very interesting. Anyway, we won't go too deep into that.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but as I said, like, super like sci-fi. I want to do wild and crazy. Like I said, Lucky is definitely not someone who shies from sex, drug, and rock and roll in his games, and if I can get away with it, we'll do it in tabletop as well. That's something I've noticed with tabletop. Like, a lot of people play tabletop for different reasons, and sometimes it's not necessarily to be have a a mature experience. Like, you actually kind of see this in talking about it, and actually differences between like fantasy RPGs and sci-fi RPGs. I guarantee you, in most sci-fi RPGs, there's like some sort of option to change your sex or your genitalia or to get some weird ass customization. You'll never find that in fucking a fantasy game anywhere.
No, because that's not... Well, one, it's talking about... this is the thing we brought up. You know what? People in the past were generally not as well educated about the subject. Okay, sure, we've lost some knowledge along the way. Greek fire, Damascus steel, etc. But generally, those people didn't necessarily understand the context of stuff or recontextualize stuff. Nope. While there are some LGBT themes in history, a lot of it's very subtle just because you couldn't talk about that kind of stuff, or people didn't know how to express it, much like a lot of old ass themes have to be reimagined in like a feminist way, just because that was actually a very spicy video that Overly Sarcastic did about one of the original version of Pandora, which is really interesting what the author clearly thought about women, because the short version.
Ooh, those gifts.
Well, yeah. So the short version is that after Prometheus fucks some shit up and breaks Zeus's rules, he's like, I'm gonna fuck the humans up. The humans, which Prometheus made from clay, having no women at this point. So he basically gets all the Olympians together to create the first woman, Pandora, whose name means all gifted. And it's one of those weird things where it's like super complimentary, but also super
backhanded.
Yes, because clearly to the author, the most sinister thing in the world. Because in this case, Pandora's not a bumbler; she's an outright villain. Zeus creates her as a guided missile to fuck over mankind. Because clearly that's what women are for, right? Am I right, dudes?
Hey, what was the gifts? All the gods gave a gift. I can't remember them all.
Yeah, so Hephaestus carves her.
Yes.
The four winds give her life. Athena clothes her. Aphrodite, the way it's phrased in Overly Sarcastic is gives her a sex drive, but probably teaches her how to love and stuff. They, teach her various crafts and things. The important one, though, is that Hermes gives her cunning.
Yes.
Which is the most evil thing of all, because she looks pretty on the outside, but she's not an idiot inside. And that's how people get got. Also because Prometheus' brother was the Titan of Hindsight, so, yeah. Good job. Good job, buddy. Prometheus, by the way, Titan of Foresight. That's why he's cool. But it's really interesting to see that, to think about it, okay, so on the one hand, obviously your characterization of a smart, beautiful woman as a literal curse from the gods, not cool, but also, it's very interesting that those are the values you assign to them, because while he puts it in a negative way, at the same time, the author does ascribe women basically all the gifts of the Olympians, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those interesting cultural commentaries that you can easily take in, an interesting way. But yeah, it's those little things, right? Those little subversions. But, what I was getting at was that because sci-fi is usually forward-looking, that's where all the we acknowledge, all the present shit we have to deal with, and we think about future shit we have to deal with, basically. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those tend to, and also because sci-fi, I think, was always a marginalized genre. It tends to acknowledge marginalized people more, and also just accept and, acknowledge all that shit better. We understand transsexuality and body dysmorphia and stuff are a thing now. We understand human psychology better and our wants and feelings, and it's just yeah, let's just recontextualize all that stuff in the future vision, Sci-fi is usually forward-looking and asks a lot of questions about how we're going to deal with our problems how we're going to deal with present problems in the future, and how we're going to deal with future problems, basically. And occasionally how past problems will become future problems.
That is something that happens.
Fantasy-type speculative fiction is usually more looked at how did we deal with past problems? What were the characters, the story arcs, and people in the past who were dealing with different stuff? Or are usually more of a, I don't have a degree in, literary analysis. I could have had an English degree, but I decided that would be a waste of money.
How do you feel about your criminal justice one?
Well, I mean, I don't have any student debt, so it's fine. That worked out okay. But, some of it's wish fulfillment, and some of it's just, it's trying to approach stuff that happened in the past, mostly, right? It's got a certain mythologizing aspect. Even urban fantasy, which is set in more modern times, is usually what if old shit was new shit? What if we had to deal with past problems now? Which, okay, the past, super cool. Love the past. I love history and folklore and all that stuff. But also, it's in the past, so...
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, there's an interesting forward-thinking quality to science fiction, and again, it's definitely part of that is probably because of the 60s and like the psychedelic revolution and all that were really big in sci-fi. Though fantasy was too. Hippies really popularized Lord of the Rings. It was a legit slogan in the 60s to see Gandalf for president and Frodo lives, that's a real like freaker to me. Be like, wow, damn. But I think a lot of that's where you get a lot of sci-fi classics and stuff is in some of those big socio-political movements, and like, yeah, no, those guys tended to be more forward-thinking and progressive and more open-minded and ask interesting questions. Is it who wrote that story? I gotta look up a short story. A sci-fi story. Is it Ursula K. Le Guin? No, I don't think so. I gotta look it up. It's referenced in Eclipse Phase, because everything in Eclipse Phase is a reference to pre-existing sci-fi. They talk about the habitat of winter, which is based on a similar story set somewhere like that, but I don't remember the name of it. But it's got some cheesy sci-fi elements where it's like, oh, there are people living on like a moon of Saturn or something or whatever, where we're like, yeah, people don't actually live out there now. But the people on the winter planet are it's an interesting story about relationships and gender relations, because the people on winter don't have a gender. They instead cycle through various genders in their lives as they go through their daily life cycle and stuff. And the protagonist is a human dude who's got to deal with the fact that some of the locals like him, and deal with the fact that it's not very heteronormative, dude. There's a lot of classic sci-fi like that. Sorry, I was scrolling back through some of the comments. We got a lot of I'm kind of surprised considering the name is very plain, but the latest episode of Let's Take FGO is doing very well.
Oh, that's good.
So I was just scrolling back through the comments and lost my train of thought. Sci-fi kids.
That's great.
Oh shit! Actually, that's a good question. Lucky, did you actually play The Outer Worlds?
Me? Yeah, I beat it.
Yeah, you did. Okay, I'm trying to remember. We had a conversation about that. I'm like, that was a while ago. I'm trying to wait, did we actually?
Yeah, because I was remembering how I remember the thing outside about how didn't we both just end up shooting fucking the leader of Starlight or whatever the fuck it was?
Something like that.
Yeah, because
she was a lunatic.
Yeah. But yeah, I beat the Outer Worlds. I only played it once. Unfortunately, I'm like,
nah, same with me. I haven't gone back because I don't have time for that. I really wanna get back to Arknights about stuff, because they're doing costumes and things, and I need some more Prime coins. But I'm trying to power through Lost World 2 before my time is free.
Oh shit! I need to open up some Azure Lane.
Yeah, I don't know what Azure Lane. I didn't even remember what Azure Lane's doing right now.
Azure Lane's just doing one of those combat things, you just go fight a map and you get points, and it gets put towards a point ladder.
Those are usually a drag for me.
Well, as I said, it's just like one battle usually per thing, and so it's something I can just pump and go, because Lucky's default Ironblood team can just solo the fucking Ironblood. Well, not entirely beat it, but it can last a full minute and get fucking Essex down to like 35 bars out of 100.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not the top meta.
Since the thing ended, the last one ended, I haven't paid too much attention. I got the points ladder ship, and I was like, okay, I'm out, peace, bye. I can build a full French team, bye. Oh, actually, though, I should say, because somebody's like, rescreen costumes, I'm like, I don't have any money for that. I bought a lucky bag, and I got Algeri's costume, and then I bought Richelieu and Jean Bart swimsuits. Solid. I have a lot of powerful French ladies ready for summer.
Lucky has switched all his Ironbloods to their swimwear. It's great. I just wish Bismarck had one.
Not yet. Sister girl just has her party dress.
Angelina says just doing this race thing. It's like he's kind of trying not to spend money on that exploded.
Rip.
He's gonna try and not spend money on Angelina. Actually, I'm just gonna put Rim back right now. And probably let these costumes go, because I want them. I'm not gonna lie. The Taiho looks good. The count,
they're very powerful.
It's very powerful. But at the same time, my wallet is not powerful. And as I said, Scotty looms over the horizon for me. Just
Yeah, I got some stuff going on.
Actually, it was funny. Going back to the gun show. The one that Lucky was almost about to buy a gun. I was like, no, I'll buy quartz instead. And then I remember the weight of spending money. I was all like, I don't need a gun. I did another 10 spins for Sigurd to even out the fucking the cost and have a little bit extra. So I technically have spent an 80 pack for Sigurd, and I'm just like, no, I'm done. I'm fucking done. I tried. Got another Valkyrie though, and another Bavardi. Why? You're already MP5 girl. Stop.
Quick.
But yeah, I guess I put some reps into Arc Knights. Mostly not for the fact that because I didn't do that great at Consistency Contract. I'm not gonna lie. I got Siege's costume. I got a little bit extra, but now I was like,
And then you quit? Same.
Yeah, then I quit.
I just couldn't find the time. Like, I did dailies and stuff, but I couldn't find the time to actually sit. Because the maps required you to think about stuff, and I'm like, I don't have time for this. I want to be playing Mario, or I want to be writing stuff, or I want to be, now in the past few days, I want to be working on Lost Belt, So it kind of took a backseat. But I've realized that they're still going to keep coming out with units and costumes, so I should get back to playing the regular game and get more Prime coins and other stuff.
Yeah, so in Arc Knights, yeah, but I made sure to pick up all the fucking sanity potions, so I'm like, fuck that sanity now. So I've been trying to burn through them, because I think I'm still at 900 sanity, and I finally got done with, getting the, 1 or 2 days last one. And I put some effort into it. I was able to E2 Ifrit. My daughter, well, I take that back. I can almost E2 Ifrit. I just need to finish getting the chips for her. That's what I was working on before, but soon she'll be E2, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna I'll have a good old time, I suppose. But other than that, let's see. So Arc Knights is going swimmingly. I think they're gearing up for the next chapter release. So story is gonna be great and all that.
Yeah, gonna go to 6. Blaze is gonna come out. I believe they have, according to leaks and stuff, we're gonna get some more Banner Shim Sham, and Blaze is gonna come out first, and then Reed, the Dragon Lady, is gonna come out on a banner after, according to Japan, which is different than how the order went with China. But hey, whatever. What can you do?
What can you do? Lucky has not been putting in his girl's frontline reps. He totally failed at the fucking bingo again. I was doing good, but then I just lost it. Again, I'm just gonna try not to worry too hard about girls frontline. I'm just gonna keep getting as I can. Especially since Lucky is considering picking up more gacha. Jesus fucking Christ. So Alice is coming out in a
week? I've seen you talking about that. I'm still shocked. Still shook. We'll see what happens. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I know my limits. I'm too fast and loose with stuff where it's just well, Arc Knight's super fun, but do I have the time to necessarily sit down and do all the stuff right away? Who knows? So it's I don't want to necessarily get into super new stuff right away.
Like I said, honestly, the big design draw for me is Yoko Taro, and I'm just It's like, that man is a madman. He's also horny on main.
Yep. He knows what he wants. Okay, so we're talking about gacha. You appeased them. Those people are left. I will continue to speak sleepily into the microphone. It's 10 o'clock at night. I think I slept 7 or 8 hours or whatever still, but I'm a little groggo.
Oh yeah, again, fucking going back to my gun store story, after we finally fucking left the gun show, as soon as I got home, the fact that I only got 8 hours of sleep, not 8 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep just fucking hit me. I started to play some World to, just wait for Omega to get functional, because it was only around noon at this point.
Omega's hardcore sleep because of his own sleepy time problems.
Yeah, but at some point I'm just I'm gonna go lay down for a little bit, and he was just done. But he was done in the worst way, where he's not fully asleep, because what I would do is every hour I would get up, look at my computer, and see if the mod channel had been highlighted, because that's usually how I know that Megan had said something. I would see nothing. I'm just I'll lay back down. I did this 4 times.
I was watching videos and doing doing Lost Belt stuff, and Lucky looks like he's not here right now. I don't need to do anything, whatever. And then you were sleeping through some of that, and it was just and then you yelled oh shit, I fell asleep, and I'm oh well, that's what he did. Okay, well yep. I'll let him know if I'm free. And at the time I had to get some food.
Food is important.
And so it was okay, well, if you still want to do the show, we'll get it after that, which clearly he did, because we're doing the show right now, and we've been going for about an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to try and overtake Let's Talk, because, well, that's a dumb idea, because it's over 3 hours long.
Well, I guess really not much to talk about.
Though, funnily enough, to comment on Let's Talk right now, I do believe, at least according to the time codes, that editing-wise, the mailbag must have been pretty fast-paced, because I think it actually worked out to be around an hour from when we started to when we stopped.
Oh, wow. Oh, I did see a comment that someone was something that was a little too rushed, so maybe an hour and a half. I was
maybe not. I feel like we probably want to give it another try at like an hour to see if it sticks.
Yeah.
Because while there was a lot of lightning rounding, it really does just also help us to be like, no, we need to move on. Like, not every question needs a 10-minute answer, and we want to make sure we have, time for those that need longer answers.
Actually, what's in the points ladder here? Is there anything actually really cool? Oh, it looks like, is that an AA gun? Holy shit. That thing looks terrifying.
Next, we already keep track of dead air. Don't you listen to videos you were in? Do you think that that's the same amount of dead air that goes into them? Oh wait, no. You usually just listen to shows live, that's right. I don't know how much you go back and listen to stuff after it happened. Because we edit a shitload of silence out. Like, the video that came out today, the Let's Talk, that audio, when it was unedited, was like 3.5 hours long. Shaved that down to about 3:10. Cut out literally 20 minutes just doing a truncate silence. Well, that was my point, though, was that it actually worked out to, even through editing, be still about an hour long. So it's probably that there wasn't a lot of dead air in that segment. We moved through a lot of stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. Well, like I said, this is one of those things we talked about data way earlier. We need more data. We need to actually try it another couple of times and see how it works out for stuff. For stuff and for people. Nobody's really complained that we didn't get to their questions yet. So,
Yeah. But so, I said, give me more data. Speaking of data, actually, I don't know. This was a horrible tangent. I don't know what data has anything to do with it, but the Fate AP has now done. You've completed it. That's all. Patchy, all around.
Yeah. Actually got done pretty quick. I think I told the story of all that on the last episode.
Yeah, you did. I'll just
get it wrapped up pretty quick.
I said Star Wars games still going. Lucky likes bullying Loth. That's something that definitely happened.
Yeah, we could kind of tell that story because that was a weird one. That was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. So last week, Omega was getting sub to send us on our next mission. Now I was like, wait, I want to do like a side character thing real quick.
What originally happened was that you had said you wanted to do that for the past couple of sessions, and then that was like we were kind of building up, and it was like we got into it, we got people back, and then it was I brought up first. Oh yeah, you had something for that. Do you want to go ahead and do that now? And you were like, yes, I do. Yes. And then stuff happened. Yeah.
In hindsight, I probably could have planned things better, but like, again, I wasn't trying to micromanage the fucking players. I'm just like, So, if you haven't, is it how far are you? How far is the backlog for Star Wars?
Goodness, no, that one won't be out because that was the fun fact to tell the end of the story first is that we ended up doing 2 sessions that night. We went super long because we did that for about 2 hours, and we're like, okay, that's cool. That turned into a self-contained thing. I'm not sleepy yet. Are you guys sleepy yet? Do you want to go do another one? So, the last one that came out was... Is that correct? The right? No, that's wrong. Hold on. Forgot to fix my fucking Roman numerals. Was 27, and I think that one was... What we did was 28 and a half and 29. So we're technically a couple sessions behind still. Tomorrow I'm going to try and make sure I'm up early enough to get 28. 28 itself edited and uploaded, but obviously because we made 2 recordings, there will be a little bit of delay for both of them to come out.
Yeah.
But people are only 2 behind the actual interlude, basically, we're talking about, which will be released as another 0.5 video, basically.
Oh, yeah, that fucking reminds me. I don't know who figured this out back in Azure Lane, but if you're doing the air raid drills and you click on the air raid drills button, it gives you a timer, and when it gets down to 0, you go to a fucking special battle map, special exercise battle mode unlocked. So someone decided to make an extra hard fucking version, and God bless you, but also I'm terrified. But yeah, talking about Star Wars, so Lucky basically wanted to make. We had this whole incident where we were trying to give them like Arma wasn't there, so the other players had to fend for themselves for a while, and it did not go as well as one would expect.
Well, I mean, the actual doing the thing probably went about as well as some people are going to expect, but as an excuse for an exercise, it definitely got a little weird.
Yeah. So got into head to put them on some training exercises. Wow, I guess got demolished in 30 fucking seconds. Jesus fucking Christ. Sorry, like it was just trying to special map. You did not do well. But So we use that as a case to hecking, give the other players a, field exercise. And I just say this is credit to myself. I did not yell at them much during the actual thing. I just kept silent, let them do their thing. But definitely by the time they got back, I was a little heated. I was a little heated in character. Well, I was a lot heated in character, but I was definitely a little heated out of character too. I'm just like, oh. And as I said, it was something that originally I expected wouldn't take the players that long to do.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Actually, I can literally pull it up because I've got all the audio files. They're just not turned into videos yet. So I can actually look up how long that session was, which I believe was titled True Survivor. The audio is 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 38 seconds.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the section that came after that, the actual episode, the audio is 3 hours, 27 minutes, and 35 seconds. So, we still did our due diligence, but man, the little interlude bit took a while.
Well, as I said, Axe is talking, saying, maybe to be blunt, but you kind of manage this to some level in every game we've done, to my understanding. That is very much a Lucky thing. Lucky is, one, social, and second, Lucky is overbearing. Usually that means he is used to taking charge and leading the charge. It's also one of the reasons why I didn't get into the Fate game, because one, there was already a lot of players, and two, I know some of the personalities of those people in there. I was all like, me getting in there is going to create some unnecessary tension as personalities collide, and I don't think this many people needs that gumming up the works.
Hey, pro tip, it didn't. There's literally an extra segment because of just in-character shenanigansing. But yeah, so...
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't... What you said did not compute. What were you saying it did not?
Well, you talked about how there'd be, it would be a clash of personality, there'd already be some shenanigans. I was like, that happened anyway. You were right to stand out, because already the forceful personalities did stuff, and the story, the arc, whatever you want to call it, is literally an extra session long. It literally is extra long, because in number 5, several people decided this was the time to have a character and be in character, and it's literally an extra 3 hours because of it.
So, but like I said, Lucky comes from a time where playing tabletops, no one wanted to be in fucking charge, so someone had to take charge, and usually that was Lucky. And so Lucky's gotten real used to telling people, no, this is what we're going to do. Do you have any fucking better? And then just, yelling, come at me, bro, when people disagreed. And it's then you lead this fucking party. People did not want to lead that fucking party. So, yeah, but at the same time, again, especially playing with Marth, because I adore Marth. He is my tabletop bro. He's been my tabletop bro for hecking, years. He's very knowledgeable about the systems. He makes tables for everything, knows a lot. But also very quiet guy, and doesn't like to stand on the front a lot. We buddy copped a lot, and like I said, he's quiet, he's quiet though, and sometimes he wants to do. So a lot of times I have to be all right, we're doing the thing. Then I turn to Marth and is you okay doing the thing? He's yeah, I'm okay doing the thing. I'm we're doing the thing.
Heck, honestly, often he wants to do the thing as much as you do. Just he's much more soft spoken about it.
Yeah.
Also, and in fact, if people faff too hard about not doing the thing, Marth will get a little annoyed and be like, "Can we go do the thing now?"
And also, not to be insulting, but no, I do not think you'll be a good right hand. You do have good ideas, but the way you often present them is often weird. And as I said, you have a bad habit of getting obsessed on weird little details and gumming up the works.
Yes, and Axe has talked about this, and we've talked to him about it. Axe has a tendency to work a lot of his thoughts out loud. Which is, there's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with that, but definitely in a leadership quality that's no, you don't want to, depending on the context, you don't want to start with your plan half made and start thinking it out with everybody and then arrive at the conclusion. Honestly, most humans usually don't like to see how the sausage is made. They don't want to hear your plan in its half-assed state become a full-assed plan, which I think could affect leadership abilities. Suggestions and clarifications can be good to the right stuff, but you gotta know when to say stuff and when not to say anything is just as important.
Yeah, and I said, and definitely during this point 5 session, there's a lot of Lucky just not saying anything as I watch these fucking lines thrown off a cliff fumble about. I'm just like, And I said, I got a little heated, once everyone got back, specifically to Law. Like I said, I was a little, Arma was definitely real heated in character and pushed, Law's buttons. Because they're real easy to push. He just has a big old red button on his chest that you just go boop, he gets mad. Yeah, so it was definitely an interesting experience. It's just one of those things like, do I actually want to be more micromanaging with, like, players and stuff? Do I, like, need, like, it was a good experience for me because, honestly, like, I have a lot of, I'm really good at, like, dealing with NPC plans. It's like, alright, well, we're gonna do this thing, we're gonna have these encounters and stuff. But when dealing with, players and how they might do things, I am definitely not as learned.
Well, I've started developing a phrasing of just no plan survives contact with the players, and that's just that's just a general topic about plans. That could be my plans, that could be the players' plans. Like the moment the players all get involved, who are all separate, as much as some of them like to think they're well-oiled machines, they are all separate, free-willed beings. Once you get them all in the same circle, spinning plates and whatever, shit gets weird.
Yeah, like the thing that killed me the most, literally killed me the most, is somehow, during my explanation of what their mission is, they got it into their heads that they were supposed to all do it individually, and I'm just like, no, I wanted you to do this all together, so you only be making one check and only have to make a few checks instead of everyone making individual checks and bogging this all down. And I'm just like,
by the way, they all made individual checks and they all bogged it down.
But that's something I didn't specifically clarify because I wanted them to come to their own solutions, but I realized that what I consider the ideal solution and what they might consider the ideal solution is not one and the same, and I need to, keep that in mind when issuing orders. Well,
and also, and you said this yourself, you didn't necessarily in character ask them to do it as like perfectly as you intended.
Yeah, I said
because you gave them an open-ended deal to like see how they react, and that's actually how leadership exercises and questions go. But also, it was kind of a thing where I think you did preface it as this will be an exercise or this will be something to help you. Like you kind of phrased it as like a training thing, which I think is part of the reason why we got a little weird about it and kind of to move on. If in character you had just told them to do a job, like you were assigning them as a unit to do something, maybe that could have gone more cohesive, but also I don't actually know because I know all the players and none of them are really the talky, leady, brain trusty guys. Like, Marth will do a plan, but he's not a very, like you said, he's a quiet guy. He's not a very talky type. Axe is talky, but like we said, Axe takes a little bit to work through his ideas and kind of go on stuff. And I think, Axe, since you're listening, sometimes with player character stuff, as a player or as a PC, you get pressured into not bogging things down, and you move while your plans are still half formed, and sometimes that bites you. You just go with whatever the easiest thing is and fret about whether it will be effective. So you just do the thing you do rather than like explore all your options or ask questions. You're just like, well, this is the thing I know I can do. I will do it. And Loth is deliberately playing a character who is a vanilla man who just is not necessarily experienced with this stuff and often just does whatever.
But we got through that. As I said, lessons were learned by everybody. And we're actually moving on to the big attack. There's immediately tentacles. Great. See, Armagh got to do some goo punching. I think my favorite moment of the actual encounter so far is when Armagh got in close with one dude and she disarms him. I mean, he disarms her. And so she just looks at her shield and throws it on the ground. And at the end of the session, I'm like, wait, I didn't actually have to throw down my shield.
No, but it was cooler that way.
It was.
As you proceeded to, like, beat up two guys with punching.
Yes. Oh my god, Axe. You get plenty of praise and positive feelings. You are just too insecure to notice them when it happens.
Well, everybody has that problem. Like,
well, it's true, but...
We've talked about this, you see one negative comment that'll stick you for a day, whatever. You get too many just like, hey, that was cool. Honestly, I think that's a good quality of mailbag, is that people will sometimes just write us little notes like, hey, the show's great, and we're just like, cool. thanks for taking your time to say it, because it's not just like a throwaway comment. It's like that's going to be read on air and is kind of validating and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's I don't think so. But yeah, there's the validation is a quandrous thing, and when the question was presented to the both the players and the player characters, I don't think anybody necessarily ended up doing it for validation, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, well, honestly, everybody took it different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Axe was like, okay, well, I'll just do the thing, and then the other guys were like, yeah, I guess we're just, trying to futz around and do stuff. And it's like, okay, you get your guys, you got your association, and he cleverly, passive-aggressively tried to shift some of the blame on me, but I was just asking clarifying questions like, are you guys, how you planning? What you doing? And then, here's the kicker. When I asked them, what are you guys planning? Everybody had different plans. And then that was like, okay, you're all doing different things and you're not talking to each other? All right, well, we're going to roll with this, right?
And Lucky was silent. He was vibrating, but he was silent.
There was a little bit of attempt to be like, oh, maybe we should share ideas, but at no point were they like, okay, why don't we do all our plans, or why don't we pick one, or whatever.
I remember you specifically said, hey, are you showing your guys' map data to each other?
Yeah,
and,
they did collude a little, but then they scooched off to do their own thing still, and I'm just like, okay,
and it bothered me so much. I said, Arma's gonna come down and fucking literally put a fucking transmitter chip on all of them. Just in fucking case keys.
And it wasn't exactly relevant, because after a couple of incidents where some stuff happened, people started to realize that, oh shit, we're getting lost in the fucking swamp, we're gonna run out of food. Though, yeah, I think, did Locke actually say whether or not he realized he miscounted the fucking food? Like, that was a question I asked them. How much food is everybody taking? It's not a big deal. And I was keeping track, kind of. Very vague rules, but, Loth had Boots kind of underplay his food stores, and so it was like, he was the one who almost on purpose ran out, and I feel like halfway through the session he was like, shit, that was dumb, I shouldn't have done that. Out of character, I realized I've done a dumb thing that I can't justify in character. Oh well, training!
Yeah, Armand got real mad at that aspect.
Yeah, like I said, I think some of that was just because both in and out of character, you kind of pitched it as an exercise, and I don't know, I do kind of feel like both the players and the characters felt like the training wheels were still on, which is not how you usually want these exercises to be. The point of seeing how people react in a real mission, so yeah, I don't know, but at the same time, there was definitely, like we said, some objective drift that was interesting to watch, and like, I try not to be like super passive aggressive as the GM or anything, and like, no, this was Arma's plan, she gave you the thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna offer any, like, Lucky said the thing, I'm not gonna offer any color commentary on his idea to him or to them. Like, he put the question to you, so I'm not gonna even as the omnipotent GM or whatever, I'm not gonna reframe your question. You asked it. You're a player character with agency,
Well, actually, I never what were your thoughts on the idea, actually, now that I think about it?
I think the idea was good. I think, like, overall, it was an interesting idea, too. Like, one, it gets more characterization of the characters, gives them an opportunity to shine, and kind of, and especially the way they took it, it kind of gave them an opportunity to do their own things, and completely fail at some of them, because some of them are not good at certain things. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't really opposed to the idea. I thought it would go a little bit faster. But, once we start making checks, it's got to be like, okay, where's my logical cutoff point? And it's just like, we'll just do it in phases, because I don't want them to do... I could have maybe made it quote-unquote faster by making it, like, all one big roll, but then there'd be a lot more writing on one single roll, which could have been bad. They already barely made it in time with all those other rolls. Imagine if they'd only gotten, like, one opportunity to roll and fucked it up, because some of them would. It took them a little bit to realize there was a destiny. Remember, there was a destiny. Excuse me. Well, I'm very burpy today. It took them a little bit to remember there was a destiny pool and realize that, oh no, this is the whole session. We should be using it so we don't fuck up as much. But it was interesting to see, because honestly, like, Axe's character Camo didn't really fuck up so much. Like, there were a couple cases where the dice got on him a little, but mostly he kept to the thing and kept going. But like we said, Camo as a character is very goal focused. Like, I think I give everybody motivation EXP because all the characters even though we didn't give them EXP XP for this session, like, all the characters are hit their motivational styles pretty strong.
Oh, yeah.
Which was also another thing that complicated it, because, again, I'm not really mad about it, but it was definitely a thing of, like, okay, so you guys, they got a little prima donna on us, Lucky. They all saw it immediately as an opportunity to be like, oh, my moment to be a special and unique snowflake. And to ascribe my character motivations. Which, like, as the GM, I'm not mad about, but it was definitely like, okay, you guys are all suddenly picking this moment to roleplay really hard, huh? Okay. Sure, that's not awkward. Cool. But Camo got a little chewed out at the end in character because it was like, okay, Camo, you stuck to the mission, but what about those assholes? I put you all in charge, so their fuck-ups are your fuck-ups, and he was just like, well, I guess they are. Oops. Shit.
I think honestly, I do think on the berating, I do think I probably rode Loth a little too hard, but I don't know, I was in the moment.
No. Loth definitely started the trend of being like, oh no, I'm super in character about this.
Right.
That still means you guys played Follow the Leader. Which was, if we had thought of this more out of character and more objective, was probably not the best plan. Though both the other players were like, no, I'm going to take enough food. I'm going to take exactly enough food. Honestly, it is kind of weird though. They still got chewed out because I think they feared for you on the wrong end. They were like, oh, we don't want to overstock our supplies or, feel like we're cheating in Arama's test or whatever. So they all try to do their own things. And that was honestly what got Arama in character more concerned, was just like, you guys are fucking around in the swamp for days at a time. What's wrong with you? I was worried about you physically. Which was a good thing, because several of them did get lost. It's a really interesting listen. If people actually listen and comment to it, people do listen.
Honestly,
commentary though, we don't get enough of. If you listen to the Star Wars AP, leave more comments. We want more feedback.
Because honestly, role playing as Arama is something that's been stuck in my head for the past couple days. Of did I actually handle that as Arama would, and was that actually something smart to do?
I think so. Yes, Arama. What? I'm pretty sure I remember. But remind me in the audience what Arama's emotional strength and weakness are.
It's compassion and sorrow.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. You felt really intensely for them, and then when they were missing, it was kind of like you felt bad, and then when they got back, you were like, guys, you made me feel bad. That wasn't the point of the exercise. I think that's ultimately what it boils down to, is that the in-character conflict was like, guys, I sent you out to do a simple job to see how you would handle open-ended orders. Your goal was not to test your mettle against Mother Nature and also worry me. Yeah, no, and honestly, like I said, that was okay. I think that we did get a little bit of in-character chewing out for Camo for just being so focused on doing the thing. Mm-hmm. But Camo is definitely, well, Axe, we're talking about not Axe, Loth, we're talking about the whole thing. We're talking about you a lot. Just because Axe is here, he can only talk about himself.
Yes.
It would probably be a little weird if he talked about other characters too much, since he's not them. But in general, I think Camo was the most effective. The only thing he got chewed out on was that he kind of
left everyone behind.
Yeah, he kind of left the others in distress because he was focused on doing the thing, and while his priority for the mission was not wrong, it wasn't exactly right either. It was like, he obeyed the letter of the law, but not the spirit. The spirit of the thing was to work together and do the thing and explore options and explore how we can solve problems if Arama has to fight another space snake, which I think was what really drove it, because I totally tattled on these guys out of character and was like, oh yeah, Lucky, in the 30 minutes while you were gone and while you were physically gone both in and out of character, these guys were very wish-washy, which they were. There was a lot of I guess we should sneak, we'll sneak, kind of doing the whole a lot of group huddling and is this what we should be doing? And even running into occasional problems where even their in-character skills were like, oh shit, none of us have leadership. How do we... Well, yeah, I actually just brought it up. Because it's how do we get minions to do stuff? And I'm like, ooh, you're going to need leadership checks. There was some assistance, which I think we might have in the moment forgot about, but even then, it's still they're not skilled, so it's do we... So we're not good at that. And this is both these sessions are out, actually, because it's Holy Diver and Sugar were going down. Which is the ones that's a big boss fight. So there was a little bit of concern about some stuff. Yeah, some of the other characters were like, Loth's definitely better about the just doing rolls, but the other characters were concerned because it was kind of a big deal. They were in a high-risk situation, so I do think that Marth and Axe are definitely our more cautious players. Would you agree, Lucky?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, you don't, like, I remember the days of BX where Marth would literally just have, like, a page and a half of gear, just in case.
Yes, he was the Boy Scout in the always be prepared sense, and like there was a lot of, and he's got better about that too. Just like, yeah, I don't need this fucking shit. I think he respected his character after last session because he was like, I just realized I don't need any of this stuff for where I want this character to go, and like pushed in different directions which fit his ideal better.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Martha's always been kind of the slow and steady, cautious, as and reflected in his characters. The one I most remember about him, besides like BX, but also it fits into that, was in Metahuman Renaissance. He played Boris, the Russian hitman sniper, who liked to collect guns. If a metahuman had a gun, he would steal it. I think he also may have kept Dr. You wouldn't have known this guy, but there was a brief subplot where there was a guy driving around in a weird garbage truck, like hitting people and carving up their organs to sell in the black market. Anyway, the team lured him out and booped his snoot pretty hard, as they do. I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure that Feng disintegrated him and possibly his entire garbage truck. But he had a cool syringe gun and a bone saw thing, and I'm pretty sure Boris stole both of those. But Boris was also a like slow, steady, stealthy distance character who was very cautious about everything he did because he was used to living in a criminal underworld. And BX was kind of the same, where he's like slow, steady, methodical distance fighter because he was also our medic,
Dr. Murderbot.
Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of I think that both Axe and Marth have the kind of cautious. Like Marth's not especially after playing Star Wars with us so long for the first couple campaigns. Marth's not shy to just roll dice if that's what it comes to, but he's definitely not the type who will be like, his personal motivations and plans will not hinge on him doing something he's bad at, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you, Lucky, are, and Loth a little bit too, are definitely in the absolute mad lad character category where it's like, I only have 2 green dice to do this? Fuck it. You gotta get busy living or get busy dying. Which we've talked about this, has caused strife with other players in the past, or characters who are like, dude, Dickette, you're way too ADD, calm the fuck down. And stuff. And Arma is not ADD, but when it was 1 part's Loth and 2 parts Marth and Axe, there was definitely a little bit more of the caution, and like, I feel like also maybe there was, nobody said it explicitly, but I felt at times maybe we were trying to stall a little bit for Arma to catch up, because we don't want you to feel bad because you're left out, but you got to punch a snake, so it's fine.
Yeah, I was fine. I was getting more, I wouldn't, if they had somehow completed the sub, I'd been like, oh, okay. Have you met my new friend? His name's Scary. Blah, 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 blah. Snake noises. Just have an unconscious snake underneath my arm. Taking it home.
But yeah, so that was kind of that was an interesting one that kind of sparked this discussion, because it was like, okay, so you guys in character kind of need to figure out what your responses are, because we've had characters go unconscious and shit before, and well, Axe unfortunately phrased it very, very poorly with his outside voice. While risky, as primarily a damage dealer, if he goes down, the plan doesn't really change. He mostly in combat does damage. Honestly, pretty similar with Marth. Though you can do some, especially after you respect, you got a lot more literally punchy.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, say, if Armad parries too much and passes out, then it'll be like, well, okay, who's our boss, right? Like, what do we do in the ongoing tactical situation? Because you have battle meditation. You literally use the Force to enhance your allies and give them orders sometimes. So there's a definite element of, like, we needed to, both in and out of character, be like, okay, your babysitter's gone. Can you guys take care of the house by yourself? And the answer to that with the interlude was a very solid maybe.
Definitely maybe.
It's for certain a possibility.
It's a 100% chance of being 50%.
50% of the time works every time. That's because, like, honestly, most of I don't want to say anybody's thought processes were, like, wrong or bad, they were just there. They had their own interpretations, and some of them worked, and then some of them didn't. And
Then
some people were like, honestly, like we said, Axe, you really shouldn't, because you probably did it the most right. The only thing was just that both in and out of character, I don't think Camo had the force of personality to be like, guys, you're being idiots. I'm the nature guy. You should follow me. Right, like, and honestly, as much as out of character, it was like, why did you guys not stick together? I also, like, as the GM, perfectly admit, like, I don't think Cam would do that, though. Like, maybe he'd be like, and he did in some of his calls to other people, be like, hey, if you need some help, I can always come back and get you, you know? And the other two player characters are like, no, we're fine. Everything's fine here. How are you? As they're literally lost in a swamp, running out of food. Well, that's another thing, Loth, which again, I no value judgment. You are definitely, like I said, with Lucky and that Mad Lad character of like, oh, well, I am now fucking up. I will now attempt to fuck up forward. Like, you don't really, in character and out of character, you don't really double back and be like, very rarely will you go, okay, clearly this isn't working. You always go for like, okay, well, we're fucking it up, but we'll try and keep momentum. I think the only time you've ever been like, ooh, this is not going to work is like if a combat check literally doesn't do a thing, like if you hit a guy with your truncheon and it does no damage, you're like, okay, that's not going to work, I'm just going to shoot him.
Bang.
We'll take the risks and we'll just shoot people. So it's a very interesting microcosm of all the different players and their character stuff. Like, honestly, Marth is definitely leaning more towards the thinky, and I admit I introduced it to him, but also I knew he didn't have any of the necessary skills, so it was like, so do you have a plan, or is this just kind of a force provides thing? And he was just like, no, force provides, that's definitely my character. And I'm like, okay then. And I kind of arguably punished him for it. I was like, yeah, you don't have a plan, your check is harder. You have literally told me you do not have a plan. That means this is not as easy as it should be. But, I mean, especially now that he's respec'd into Hermit, that really is his character thing, though, is like self-reliance and like following the force and shit. Doesn't he have... He has foresee, yeah.
Yeah.
He probably should have tried to use it. But, yeah. And it's really interesting to see this dovetail immediately into, okay, well, now we gotta go do a tactical operation. Which was very tactical.
Very tactical.
And also very tentacle.
Very tactical. Yeah, that was a great moment. Yeah, we're good up the scan, and Boots is in the water. Well then.
Yeah, no, so again, no spoilers about future stuff because you're not to other places, but this is another one of those things where I'm like, I have no idea how you're going to handle this one, so I'll write it open-ended, and I will present you with logical options. And not necessarily suggest that those are the only ones, but those are the easiest ones to come up with, so there you go. Mm-hmm. Like, you obviously have your own difficulties, you're just like, fuck it, we're just going to land like 5 gunships in the courtyard, fuck you. You know, kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. I even said, I told you guys, and now it's too late for it, but I was like, oh no, I realized like halfway through writing this, oh, you guys could legit just like ask for an armored vehicle to be like buddy tanked in. What do I do about that? So like I had thoughts and feelings about that one too. So there was always a plan that like, and it made sense. Like, okay, you're down at the dock house, you're on the K. What's gonna happen? Animal attack, and then it was like, just double check, you know, like stealth and stuff. I had to roll your dice, so it was very interesting. And then it was like, oh no, Boots, you succeeded in your check, but rolled 2 despairs. So, it was literally like, I think it was like, okay, you guys sent Camo off because he was doing his own solo mission, which suits him very well, and we've kind of cut back to him at certain points in the way it's set up. But Cavis notices nothing. Arama notices nothing. Boots, you notice something, and then you are immediately grabbed and dragged into the water. And then I turn to the other player characters, and I'm like, so you guys have now noticed Boots is gone. He's in the water. Sploosh. And we're like, shit. And then I think you both characters astonished everybody by just being like, fuck it, I'm going in the water.
Mm-hmm. I'm angry at my child, but he's still my child.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Yeah, and you guys had plenty of opportunity. Like when shit got real later in that episode, and Boots, I will let everybody know, if you've been following the APs, Boots once again has to face his worst trial of all, needles. But when it comes down to the brass tacks of like, oh shit, the thing is happening, like as much as some characters were still a little salty in character, everybody was like, no, we are part of a unit, we are part of a machine, we are doing the thing.
The thing.
and kind of worked all together. And I'm interested to see what other shenanigans. I'm pretty sure storming the castle's still going to take you a couple more sessions. But that's intentional. This is supposed to be like actually do all the climactic stuff I wanted to do and kind of wrap up this particular subplot. So,
well, more sessions mean more XP because those things that I want to buy.
Ow! You okay over there? You accidentally touched a live wire trying to get superpowers?
B, I admit nothing.
Lucky admits nothing. I'm going to retweet this.
So yeah, that's Star Wars. I'm super excited about it. It's very intense. Like I said, I want things I want to buy because I did it in my respec, and I'm like, yes, this is much more in line with what I want. So, and Martha did it too. Once he realized he can do it, he was like, oh yeah, I don't actually like this.
Yeah, and that's, especially when you're almost 30 sessions in, we've been doing this for several months. That's always a thing of like I joke that like in the Fate thing, people realized like 4 or 5 sessions in, oh shit, this is my character now. Suddenly I have in-character thoughts and feelings. But that just naturally happens as you play a character and they evolve and you realize, oh shit, this is actually what I want to do. And especially for very strictly mechanical stuff, which, not that Fantasy Flight Star Wars is like really crunch light. It definitely has some very strong rules, but they're all supposed to emphasize on the underlying narrative and the pulpy space action feel,
Yes.
So there are some rules that are quite strict about how you should interpret things, but usually they're to keep the feel and keep everything kind of fair and balanced and moving fast and forward. But they have a lot of fiddly bits in the form of like talents and talent trees, and you can definitely like buy your way in a tree like you did and like Martha ultimately did and be like, okay, so literally like half the campaign ago, this seemed like a good idea, but now I've realized that I've spent a lot of EXP on this and it's not actually doing the stuff I want, and because EXP expenditures escalate, I really want my EXP back and to do something different. And because I know you guys take very meticulous notes about your EXP expenditures and stuff, I'm totally like, well, other than Loth, we noticed that Loth I did the calculation from last episode of What's Up. We did figure out Loth definitely miscounted his EXP somewhere somehow, and so he has to put his EXP in the timeout box for a couple of sessions so the rest of the players can catch up, because unfortunately we have no idea how he got the extra EXP, so we can't just go, okay, you've got 20 points extra, scale it down, because there is some variance in there, right?
Yeah.
I still, for the interlude thing, did give him 5 extra, even though he was in the EXP timeout, because I was just like, no, dude, you guys are literally all role-playing your motivations very hard, and you are literally suffering for it, so, no. you need to get your reward for doing the thing. Yeah, XP jail. That's a good way. But that I don't have any problems with you guys going, hey, can I unbuy my specialization and like roll up all the EXP in these talents and do something different? Yeah, sure, you got the math. Are you asking me to retrofit your character? Then in that case, fuck no. I don't know your work, but you know your work, so if you can just roll it back, it's just like, it's fine. It's like, obviously, if you did something weird like, hey, Omega, I'm gonna unbuy Performer and buy Gambler, I'd be like, what? Huh? Why? Why would you do that? Or, yeah, I've decided I want to learn Colossus. What? That doesn't make any sense for your character. Aren't you a presence build? Yes, but I want to be infinitely swole. Like, okay, I guess. I don't know. You're gonna be back to me in like 3 sessions, and that's not gonna be what your character wants. But fine, go for it. I'm not doing your math. But yeah, but when it's like, yeah, I haven't used this at all, and I want to actually put it in a thing I'm already planning on using, I'm just like, no, that's fair. I don't care. So long as you are playing the character you want to play, and I know what your character can do, so I can correctly adjust encounters around it. Honestly, I feel like I need to, just so it's cool, I need to, like, figure out some more unarmed or brawling type enemies so you can have, like, cool fistfights with people. Because I do believe that Arama would never be so unsporting as to, bring a lightsaber to a fistfight.
Nope. Honestly, when Arma gets her fucking custom armor, it's probably gonna be just a fucking dagger lightsaber. It's like, no, this is just my cutting tool.
Just go
or
for
something like that.
Yeah. You can do that. You can do a short hilt. Have an interesting style. The other most brawly would probably be guard Shotos, but I don't think anybody uses a single lightsaber tonfa. That would be weird.
Yeah. Especially since she still has this ancient shield.
Unfortunately, I don't think you're spec'd for double.
No.
Because as stated, you are basically doing sword and board.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
her
you can
sword
do
and
the
board is
weird
her beacon.
Wolverine claws gauntlets thing, but I don't think that necessarily works either.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, I could put an effort into actually making some custom things, but I'm like, I know.
That seems a little nerdy.
Yeah, a little too nerdy. I'm just like, nah, not my jam.
No, Arma is probably better off with a possibly very customly designed weapon, like just a melee weapon or something, or a brawling weapon that's specially designed. Because while you like your crush gaunts, you also notice that they do have some limitations.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd probably like custom design some kind of fist weapon, and then you have a lightsaber because that's just your thing. But it'll be in a style that suits you.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly, a compact lightsaber you can easily conceal, but also still defend yourself if somebody, like, say, is a Magna Guard and is trying to knock your block off.
Mm-hmm. You gotta have a lightsaber to reflect too. That's the big thing.
That is another big thing, yeah. Because even though you have you can parry with your shield and you can unarmed parry, but reflect, no.
Yeah, no.
That requires a special weapon, and it requires a target that can be reflected.
Yes.
But yeah, so Star Wars is cool.
Star Wars is cool.
Well, that is, oddly enough, that is actually what a punch dagger is that thing you posted. And if kids at home, you don't know what a punch dagger is it's basically, it's kind of like a reverse brass knuckle, where you tuck like the grip bit into the inside of your hand, and then it's got a blade that sticks out past your fingers. Katars, a favorite of our friend Ron. One of the many types of punchman swords. Also popular if you're, say, Voldo. Arma is not Voldo, I hope not.
Oh god, no. She does not wear enough straps for that shit.
What's your agility? I don't know if you're...
2.
Yeah, I don't know if you're bendy enough to be Voldo.
I don't know. Well, not bendy, but dropping those couple points of coronation helped on fucking dashing those fucking rocks.
Yeah, you sprinted across rocks and you fit through compact spaces.
But okay, I'm done talking about Arama because I like gushing. I'm not gonna lie, I like talking about Arama. I really do. She's my character.
Well, you like talking about characters in general. You get pretty invested, which is good. Investment is good, and that's also another reason why I'm like, nah, you can just respect because I want you to keep that investment, and do that stuff. It's important for you to have the character you want and to kind of try and do the things you want to do. I say try because sometimes you will fail at things because if you succeed at everything, it's no fun. Nope. Unless you're... No, I'm kidding. I was going to make a joke about Axe, but no. I joke when I say that, though. Axe is still, I think, concerned about whether it's in character or out of character, letting you guys down or just wasting people's time. But honestly, we joke about that, but that's just because... Also, the dice are swinging. And I know this for sure. There are plenty of times I've built an NPC to be good at something, and I appear to have rolled all advantages and failed. Cool. Mm-hmm. Or my favorite during combat, well, so I've just rolled 4 success and 2 threat, so I can't do anything cool or interesting. I can only beat you up. I can only cause you more harm. There are probably various talents that might help me adjust that, but they're not very common, so it's a little weird. Yeah, that's always a little sad when you build yourself to do something and you're like, I've whiffed it. But, sometimes you do okay. So long as you hit your core intent enough that you get that little shot of serotonin or whatever, and you're like, I did good. I did the thing. Yay. It's like acting. You're like, I get sent my part. Yeah, I said my line. Yeah. I did it. Did the thing. Okay. We've been going for about 2.5 hours. It's getting a little late. I gotta edit this.
I'm ready to call quits.
Yeah, I think some hit stuff. There might have been some other stuff I could have mentioned, but I think we hit everything. I wonder when we got started about this. I gotta title this episode something. I'll figure it out. It's fine. I'm cool. Alright. So let's go ahead and wrap up then. Because Omega needs to not be up super late at night so he can run tomorrow. Resting is important for your GMs. You must let your GM rest. So,
that'll be exciting.
Yeah, got some fun stuff to get into. So, hey everybody. If you like this video and you're watching on YouTube, be sure to give it a like. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below. We love to hear those. Sorry, got a little ahead of myself there. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel to always get our latest videos. And even if you're already subscribed, don't forget to hit that bell, a lot of T sounds in there, for notifications so you always know when we post a new video or when we stream. And of course, I think it's at the front of the episode, be sure to consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early. You can get podcasts like What's Up in audio format for as little as $1 a month. And it really helps us out, lets us experiment, do new stuff, build the stuff, etc. It's fun. And you get stuff, too. Everybody gets stuff. It's cool. It's great. So, yeah, that's What's Up for this week. Stay tuned, obviously, for another What's Up next week. If you haven't already, go back and check out Let's Talk for this week. We talk about a lot of stuff. It's very long. And stay tuned for future streams and videos about stuff. Also, do actually check out the APs, please. Or you'll make Lucky cry. You don't want to make Lucky cry.
Don't make Lucky cry, please. Lucky's cried enough.
It's like those possibly racially insensitive ecology ads about the crying Indian. You know?
Mm-hmm.
When you litter, you make a Native American cry. When you don't watch the APs, you make Lucky shed a single tear.